Chapter 976. Would a martial arts expert at the Grandmaster level fall while riding a bicycle? The answer was obviously no. Ching Yaojin demonstrated the answer to this question personally. Even though old Ching had never ridden a bicycle before, and no one had ever taught him how to ride one, after he got on the bicycle, he relied on his strong control of his body's balance to imitate Ching Chumo's cycling movements just now. He was able to do it without a teacher. As he rode, he even left the handlebars with both hands and showed off his riding skills. Ching Chumo and Ching Chuliang were stunned. Haha. Good. Good. This bicycle is interesting. Although it's not as fast as a warhorse at full speed, this thing doesn't need to be fed grass. And there's no wear and tear. It's more convenient than a warhorse. After riding the bicycle and circling the front yard twice, Ching Yaojin patted the seat of the bicycle, laughed, and praised. Dad, you're not thinking of using this bicycle to replace a warhorse, are you? Ching Chumo was a little confused when he heard that. When he thought of how the other side had thousands of soldiers and horses during the war, and how they were a team of bicycles, he couldn't help but feel his scalp tingle. Smack! This silly guy's scalp was still tingling, and then it hurt again because Ching Yaojin had mercilessly slapped him on the head again. Rascal, when did this old man say that he wanted to use a bicycle to replace a warhorse? How can you play around with important matters of the country? Quickly return the bicycle to little Xian. Ching Yaojin was a little exasperated and said, "Oh, I'll return it in a while." Ching Chumo rubbed his head and said gloomily. Ching Yaojin glared and said, "What do you mean in a while? Return it now. You rascal, haven't you had enough after playing for so long?" Ching Chumo was helpless and could only say, "Yes, Dad. I'll return it now." "Big brother, let me help you return it?" Ching Chuliang suddenly said. This time, it was Ching Chumo's turn to stare. "Hey little Liang, you're really dreaming. No way." After saying that, he quickly snatched the bicycle from Ching Yaojin's hand and said, "Dad, I'll return the bicycle." "Okay. Little Xian, I heard that the Curious Pavilion has a new two-wheeled carriage. Can I take a look at it?" When it was close to noon, Wang Renbiao arrived at the Li Zixuan's residence with his icily arrogant servant girl. After exchanging a few pleasantries, Wang Renbiao looked at Li Zixuan and explained his intentions. "What? Is the Wang family interested in the bicycle business?" Li Zixuan asked with a smile. Wang Renbiao nodded and said, "That's right, the Wang family is very interested in this kind of vehicle that can move quickly without the help of animals. I can foresee that in the future, there will be more and more people riding such carriages in the Great Tang." After spending so much time with Li Zixuan, Wang Renbiao knew Li Zixuan's character very well. Therefore, he didn't hide anything and admitted it directly. "Haha, you have good taste." Li Zixuan couldn't help but sigh in praise. A bicycle was logically much more convenient than a horse. In the future, as the living standards of the people of the Great Tang rose, bicycles would definitely enter every household. Thinking back to his previous life, in the first 20 to 30 years after the founding of the People's Republic of China, the Phoenix bicycle was a popular product that the people of Suzhou, Zhejiang, and Shanghai scrambled for. In fact, there was a period where one could only buy one with a ticket. In 1978, owning a Phoenix or Forever brand bicycle was enough to make a family proud. After the 21st century, when a boy got married, he would need a house, a car, and an expensive betrothal gift. Furthermore, the house had to be renovated and the home appliances had to be complete. However, in the 70s and 80s, a bicycle was enough. Even though the current situation in Great Tang was different from that of China, the development of bicycles should be similar. Therefore, this was a market with great potential. However, that bicycle isn't at home now. It was borrowed by Chon Yo in the morning. "Renbiao, if you want to take a look, you can either wait here for a while or come back another day," Li Zixuan said to Wang Renbiao after putting away his messy thoughts. "That's really unfortunate. Hearing this, Wang Renbiao did not suspect anything and said regretfully, Xiao Xian, I'm here to return the bicycle. Coincidentally, at this moment, Qing Chumo's voice could be heard from outside the courtyard. When there was no one around him, he would never call him Yamacho. Instead, he would call Li Zixuan by his name. Who said that it's unfortunate? Renbiao, looks like you came at the right time, Li Zixuan said with a smile. As they spoke, Qing Chumo rode his bicycle into the courtyard. Xiao Xian, your bicycle. Yo, isn't this Renbiao? You're here too? The relationship between the Wang family and Li Zixuan was well known. Furthermore, Wang Renbiao was a relative of the emperor and had been active in Chang'an for the past few years. Qing Chumo could still recognize him. What a coincidence. Chonyo, how have you been? Wang Renbiao stood up and clasped his hands. Qing Chumo laughed and waved his hand. I know that you must have something to discuss with Yamacho. I won't disturb you any further. Let's meet again. After that, he parked his bicycle beside the stone table in the front yard of the Li residence. This was where he got his bicycle in the morning. Then, he bid farewell and left. Although he looked like a brute, he was still very observant when it came to crucial moments. Here, Renbiao, this is the bicycle that you wanted to see. I call it a bicycle. How does it feel? Wang Renbiao nodded. It's amazing. Not only can this slender two-wheeled bicycle stand firm, it can also run very fast without the help of animals. If it's sold, it will definitely be very popular. I wonder if Xiao Xian is willing to share some of the goods with the Wang family. Li Zixuan did not hesitate and replied, Of course. Not to mention that the Wang family is an important member of the Chamber of Commerce. Just based on my friendship with Renbiao, the Wang family will definitely get a large share of the goods. Moreover, the output of the bicycle will definitely surprise you. The new workshop now is no longer the same as before. Especially after he updated the equipment for the new workshop next year, the productivity will be even more amazing. Wang Renbiao said happily, Haha, that's great. To be honest, Xiao Xian, the Wang family will definitely not complain about the number of bicycles that you can produce. Li Zixuan smiled and did not say anything. After Wang Renbiao finished talking about the bicycle, he sighed faintly and said, Today, other than discussing this matter with you, Xiao Xian, I'm also here to say goodbye to you. Li Zixuan was surprised. Goodbye? Renbiao, where are you going? Wang Renbiao was silent for a while and replied, A few days ago, His Majesty appointed me as the governor of Qizhou. I will take office after the new year. At that time, it will be difficult to drink and chat with you. Chapter 977. There were 3 ways to select an official in the Tang Dynasty. Family background, mixed background, and imperial examinations. Everyone was familiar with the imperial examinations. Ever since Emperor Wen of Sui started the imperial examinations, China's selection system was gradually replaced by the imperial examinations. However, everything had a process. During the Tang Dynasty, the imperial examinations weren't the most mainstream method to select an official. At this time, there were still many officials who relied on family background and mixed background to enter the imperial court. Of course, in the Tang Dynasty there were strict rules regarding who could become an official. Firstly, those who had a title could be inherited by their descendant. Secondly, relatives of the emperor could be given an official rank based on their relationship with the emperor. Thirdly, the great-grandson of a third-rank official or above, the grandson of a fifth-rank official or above, and the son of a second-rank official could become an official. Wang Renbiao's situation was the second type of official. He was appointed as a member of the imperial family, and immediately became the provincial governor of a province. His starting point was much higher than those from humble families, mainly because his mother was Princess Tang and governor of Qizhou. Congratulations, Renbiao. I hope that Renbiao can benefit the people of the province and achieve great achievements. Li Zixuan was stunned for a moment before he cupped his hands towards Wang Renbiao. Although he didn't know where Qizhou was, the governor of a province wasn't a small official. In modern times, it was equivalent to a high-ranking official. For a long time, the Tang Dynasty used a three-tiered administrative system of Dao, prefecture, and county. However, the actual authority of each Dao differed greatly, and there were many changes. Furthermore, the basis was the expansion of the regional commander's authority, so this system was often called the virtual three levels. At the beginning of Zhenguan Dynasty, Li Er divided the world into 10 Dao. The Qizhou that Wang Renbiao was about to go to belonged to Gongji Province, also known as the Fengxiang Prefecture. Its governing area was Yong County, and it governed 9 counties. It was relatively close to Chang'an, and its territory was relatively large. At the very least, this Qizhou was larger than the Sui province that Wang Renbiao's father managed, and it was closer to the political center of the Tang dynasty. It could be seen that Princess Tang had spent a lot of effort in front of Li Er for her son's future. At this moment, Wang Renbiao didn't have much joy on his face. He bitterly smiled and said, "Being an official isn't Renbiao's specialty. I don't dare to ask for credit, but I don't want to make any mistakes." Li Zixuan smiled and said, "Renbiao, don't be so pessimistic. You have the backing of the Wang family. After you take office, relying on the Wang family's resources to develop agriculture and commerce in Qizhou, it won't be difficult to make the people rich. As long as you serve the people wholeheartedly, the people will remember it in their hearts." Wang Renbiao nodded and cupped his hands, saying, "I'll take advantage of your auspicious words, little Xian. When the time comes, I'm afraid I'll have to ask you for advice on your experience as an official. In less than a year, you have managed your fief so well that the people can live and work in peace and contentment. You are truly a model for all the officials of the Great Tang." Everyone liked to hear good words, and Li Zixuan was no exception. Moreover, these were not only good words but also the truth. He chuckled and said, "You flatter me. I just can't bear to see the common people suffer. Renbiao, as long as you treat the people well, I believe that after your term in Qizhou ends, the people will definitely see you off." Wang Renbiao nodded solemnly and said, "Although I don't want to be an official in this life, since I'm an official now, I will do my best to benefit the people." Li Zixuan laughed and said, "Ha ha. If I come to Qizhou in the future, I will drink and chat with Renbiao again." Wang Renbiao cupped his hands and said, "Definitely." After that, he turned around and left. When Ling Yuyao passed by Li Zixuan, she hesitated for a moment, but still cupped her hands and said, "Marquis, take care. You are a good official. See you again." At the beginning, she did not like Li Zixuan, but in the end, Li Zixuan's powerful martial arts strength and extraordinary charisma made her admire him. Her attitude towards Li Zixuan had changed a lot. Li Zixuan smiled and said, "Miss Ling, take care too." Wang Renbiao's family was not the only one eyeing the bicycle business. In the afternoon, the other shareholders of the Yan Huang Chamber of Commerce, Chao Wendong, Lin Wenyuan, Liao Shifan, and Zhang Jingyang all came to ask about the bicycle business. Back then, Liao Shifan had purchased 40,000 strings of coins worth of shares in the Chamber of Commerce, but 20,000 of them had been purchased for his good friend, Feng Zhihua. After Feng Zhihua had returned from the sea and heard of such a good deal, he had immediately given the 20,000 strings of coins to Liao Shifan without hesitation. Therefore, the first batch of members of the Yan Huang Chamber of Commerce was supposed to be 6, but now it was 7. Li Zixuan did not say anything when he knew about it. After all, these people's private transactions were not his business. It was worth mentioning that Li Chengqian personally came to Yongla Lane to find Li Zixuan when it was close to evening. He was not only a shareholder of the Strange Interest Pavilion, but also the first batch of members of the Yan Huang Chamber of Commerce. "What? Chengqian, you are also interested in bicycles? You are the crown prince, but you are doing business. I'm afraid it won't be good if word gets out, right? Li Zixuan could not help but ask when he saw Li Chengqian. Li Chengqian looked around with a guilty conscience and said, "Little Xian, you can't say that. Father Emperor's many children all have their own shops. Although I can't personally participate in the matters of the merchants, the people below can still." Li Zixuan suddenly understood and nodded. He suddenly thought of something and frowned. "Chengqian, could it be that you lack money?" Actually, he wanted to ask if Li Chengqian had started to keep a male pet, but this was not something he could ask directly. He remembered that in the history books, Li Chengqian liked men and even kept a male pet called Ching Xian. Logically speaking, the dividends that the strange interest pavilion gave Li Chengqian every month should be enough to cover the daily expenses of the Eastern Palace. Li Zixuan could not understand why Li Chengqian was lacking money, so he thought of that. Li Chengqian did not suspect anything and nodded honestly. "Yes, I am a little short of money recently." Without waiting for Li Zixuan to ask, he directly said, "The weather has been getting colder and colder. Mother's palace has not been renovated for many years, and once winter comes, Mother's illness relapses easily. Father's back has also suffered many injuries in the early years, and when the weather is cold, Father's old injuries relapse easily. I wanted to help Father and Mother repair the palace, and coincidentally saw your bicycle yesterday. I felt that it would be very popular, so I came to ask you for some goods." "I see." Li Zixuan rubbed his nose and looked a little embarrassed. He did not think that he would think Li Chengqian's filial piety was so dirty. That should not be. "No problem. It is reasonable that when the time comes, Chengqian will have a share of the bicycles. You can rest assured." Chapter 978. "All right. Thank you, Xiaoxian. I'll get someone to contact you later. That person's name is Su Haoguan. He's in charge of all the shops under me." Li Chengqian smiled and cupped his hands. Li Zixuan nodded lightly and said, "I'll arrange it." "All right. Xiaoxian, when can the bicycle workshop produce the second one? Father and Mother wanted to see it for themselves after hearing about it yesterday," Li Chengqian suddenly said. Li Zixuan thought for a moment and replied, "It should be in the next 2 days. The workshop has enough manpower now, so the speed will be much faster than before. When the time comes, I'll get someone to send one over to you first." Li Chengqian said happily, "Thank you." After chatting for a while, Li Chengqian said goodbye. The next day, after breakfast, Li Zixuan was practicing his swordsmanship in the west courtyard. Han Yushi suddenly smiled and walked into the courtyard quickly. She shouted to Li Zixuan, "Husband! Husband! Come and take a look. The beans have really sprouted." Swoosh! Li Zixuan's 5 senses were very sharp when he was practicing his swordsmanship. Although Han Yushi was far away, he still heard every word she said. He quickly put away the wind-chasing sword and took the sweat towel that Xiaoxi handed over. After wiping his sweat, he walked over and said happily, "Wife, are you serious?" Actually, counting the days, the beans that he soaked previously should have sprouted by now. It was just that Han Yushi had been changing the water for the beans these days, so he had forgotten about this matter. "Husband, it's true. The beans that you soaked last time have all sprouted. They're as long as a finger." Han Yushi smiled happily. The beans had sprouted. This proved that her efforts over the past few days had not been in vain. It also proved that she could help Li Zixuan. Li Zixuan said happily, "All right. Let's go and take a look." The husband and wife quickly walked to the kitchen. Han Yushi led Li Zixuan to a table. She brought over a basin with a bamboo sieve on top of it. Han Yushi lifted the wet cloth covering the bamboo sieve, and a patch of white bean sprouts immediately appeared in front of Li Zixuan. Under the erosion of the water, the beans swelled up and became fat. Tender white sprouts emerged from the beans, fresh and juicy. Seeing such fresh vegetables in this season, Li Zixuan couldn't help but salivate. His appetite was immediately aroused. Ha ha! Good, good, good. Auntie Zhao, pick some longer ones and prepare to fry some for father, mother, and grandmother to try. Li Zixuan, who had just finished breakfast, inexplicably felt a little hungry. Some people might think that being able to eat meat in ancient times was a kind of happiness, but to Li Zixuan in winter, fresh vegetables were the way to go. Eating fish and meat every day was really difficult to arouse his appetite. So when he saw bean sprouts now, he felt a little hungry. Yes, young master. Auntie Zhao responded and then said awkwardly, but young master, how do we fry this kind of thing? She had stayed in the Li residence for so long and learned a lot of cooking skills from Han Yushi. However, she really didn't know how to fry bean sprouts. Then Auntie Zhao, after you're done choosing, leave it first. I'll fry it myself later. Li Zixuan patted his head and said, Husband, why don't you say it and I'll do it? Han Yushi covered the bamboo sieve with the wet cloth and raised her head. Li Zixuan thought for a while and nodded. Actually, it's easy to make bean sprouts. I'll say it again. With your talent, it shouldn't be a problem. Han Yushi blinked and said, Then please say it, husband. I'll remember it. First, put oil in a hot pan and fry the pepper. Then, put in chopped green onions and garlic and mung bean sprout. Stir fry until the water is about to come out. Add salt and stir for a while. Sprinkle vinegar and stir fry until the fire is reduced. It's simple and doesn't lose the taste. Li Zixuan paced back and forth, speaking one sentence after another. I understand. Hee. I heard that Yushi is going to make a new dish today. This old woman is going to have good food again. At noon, in the main hall of the Li residence, the whole family gathered together. Yi Guozhong and old Madame Yi had the highest seniority, so naturally, they sat at the head of the table. There were 4 or 5 dishes on the table. Fried chicken with black bean sauce, fresh shrimp with sweet wine, mushroom and chicken pot, fried crab meat with rice flavor, shrimp and scallop. It could be said that the fragrance was overflowing, but without exception, they were all meat dishes. Old Madame Yi said with a smile at this moment. After staying in the Li residence for so many days, Han Yushi's culinary skills had completely conquered her and Yi Guozhong. Even Yi Fashion, who had been practicing Taoism since he was young, had to admit that Han Yushi's culinary skills were superb. In front of these dishes made by Han Yushi, sometimes he even had the idea of eating and drinking in the Li residence for the rest of his life. This made him blame himself after the meal. He was determined to save the world. How could he give up his dream for the sake of good food? Little Xian is really lucky to have married this girl. I've traveled around the world in my early years and eaten a lot of delicacies from all over the world, but I didn't expect to become a greedy person when I came here. After old Madame Yi finished speaking, Yi Guozhong also stroked his beard and laughed. Mrs. Li said warmly, Father, Mother, since you like the dishes made by Yushi, then stay here for a few more days. I'm coming. At this moment, Han Yushi's voice came in. She had already changed into the white dress that she usually wore. Usually, when she was cooking, she would change into clothes that were specially used for cooking. After she was done, she would change back. This way, she could avoid being contaminated with the smoke and fire in the kitchen. Han Yushi walked in with a smile. Behind her, Xiao He helped her carry a plate of dishes. Yo! What dish is this? Why is it so fresh? The bean sprouts that had just come out of the pot were placed on the dining table. A fragrance immediately entered everyone's nostrils. Old Madame Yi looked at the tender and white bean sprouts on the plate and couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. Grandmother, this is stir-fried bean sprouts. Husband soaked some soybeans a few days ago. Today, the soybeans sprouted, so I stir-fried it. Grandmother, try it and see if it's edible. Han Yushi smiled. Entrance. It looks delicious just by looking at it. Old Madame Ye's face was full of smiles. As she spoke, she had already picked up her chopsticks, picked up a few white and tender bean sprouts from the plate, and put them into her mouth. A moment later, the old lady praised repeatedly, and, "Good, good, good. It's crispy and delicious, and the heat is just right. It makes people salivate. This stir-fried bean sprouts is really appetizing. Yushi, your cooking skills are really getting better and better. Old Master Yuzhu, Jing Mo, Shan or Xiao Xian, all of you quickly try it too." When everyone saw this, how could they be polite? After Yi Guozhong tasted the bean sprouts with his chopsticks, he praised, "I didn't expect that the sprouts of beans could be so delicious after stir-frying. It's really wonderful." Chapter 979. Yes, yes. This bean sprout is really delicious. Lan will only eat this bean sprout in the future and won't eat meat. After Lan tasted the bean sprout with her chopsticks, she couldn't stop eating. The little girl's appetite hadn't been good recently. It was rare to see her eating so energetically. Madame Li saw this and was happy in her heart. Actually, bean sprout wasn't that delicious. Furthermore, there weren't any chili in the Tang Dynasty, so it lacked a flavor when stir-fried. However, to people who couldn't eat fresh vegetables in the winter, bean sprout that just came out of the water was undoubtedly a top-notch delicacy. Even money couldn't buy it. Crispy, tender, juicy, and good taste. How can bean sprout be so delicious? Xian you must have used a special method to make the bean sprout, right? After Li Jingma ate the bean sprout, he couldn't help but be moved. He thought for a moment and said with a smile. Li Zishuan replied, "Yes, father. If these beans want to grow sweet and tender sprouts, they must go through a unique process. Since father, mother, grandfather, and grandmother all like to eat it so much, then I'll get the servants to make more. It's not good to just eat fish and meat in the winter. It's not good for the body. Before the greenhouse vegetables grow, our family must have bean sprout to eat every day." After soybean sprout, the carotene content would increase by 1 to 2 times, vitamin B2 by 2 to 4 times, vitamin B12 by 10 times, and vitamin E by 2 times. Niacin, folic acid, and other substances would also increase by a few times. After soybean sprout, the aspartic acid would increase sharply. Therefore, eating soybean sprout often could reduce the accumulation of lactic acid in the body and help relieve fatigue. The nutritional value of mung bean sprout was also not inferior. Not only did it contain protein, carotene, calcium, phosphorus, iron, and other minerals, it also contained rich vitamins, especially vitamin C, which was especially rich. Therefore, from a nutritional point of view, it was very necessary to eat bean sprout in the winter because these vitamins and minerals weren't found in fish. "Husband, let this concubine do it. You have your own things to do," Han Yushi said warmly. Li Zishuan nodded and said, "That's good. I'll have to trouble you then." In terms of food, he was at ease with Han Yushi doing things. In the past, he did like to cook, but he only cooked because the cooking method in this era was monotonous and the dishes he cooked were not delicious. In fact, Li Zishuan was still quite lazy deep down. Han Yushi took over the kitchen and the dishes she made were even more delicious than his. What reason did he have to refuse? Another day passed. This morning, Li Zishuan went out with Lan to walk the dog. It was their family's cheap dog, Little Gray. This little thing was really cheap sometimes. In the past, when Lan took it out to play, it often hooked up with other people's female dogs. This was not the most important thing. The most important thing was that it always hooked up with other people's male dogs when other people's female dogs and male dogs were doing something good. Naturally, wherever it went, there would be chaos. After that, Lan no longer dared to bring Little Gray out to play alone. Only when Li Zishuan was around would she pester Li Zishuan to go with her. "Ink girl? You know how to ride a bicycle now?" Seeing Mo Lingwei riding a bicycle valiantly towards them, Li Zishuan stopped and asked with a smile. When Mo Lingwei approached the Li residence, she squeezed the brake. With a hoarse sound of metal rubbing, the bicycle steadily stopped in front of Li Zixuan and Lan. Mo Lingwei jumped down from the bicycle and said proudly to Li Zixuan, "Humph! What's so difficult about this? It's just a bicycle. Isn't it a piece of cake for me?" This girl, who was it that almost fell and disfigured while learning how to ride a bicycle a few days ago? Li Zixuan felt inexplicably funny and said, "Hee hee. Ink Girl is really talented and smart. In just a few days, she learned how to ride a bicycle. I really admire her, I really admire her. Ha!" Among them, Li Zixuan emphasized the words, "just a few days." After Mo Lingwei heard it, her little face blushed. She stomped her feet angrily and said, Good people really don't have good karma. I came over with good intentions to help Yamacho deliver the bicycle to you. Yamacho, you mocked me. Forget it, forget it. I won't be delivering the bicycle, I'll ride it back." After saying this, the girl really wanted to get on the bicycle and leave. Li Zixuan hurriedly said, "Cough, cough. Wait, wait. Ink Girl, you misunderstood me. I was sincerely praising you just now, I wasn't mocking you. Think about it. You can be considered the first girl in the Tang Dynasty to learn how to ride a bicycle. Shouldn't I say that you're talented and smart? Isn't that right, Lan? Yes, yes. Sister Wei is so amazing. Lan still doesn't know how to ride a bicycle. You're also the first sister that Lan has seen who knows how to ride a bicycle." Lan very cooperatively said in a crisp voice. "Flattery won't work no matter how many times you try. Besides, Mo Lingwei was just putting on an act. She didn't really want to leave." Li Zixuan and Lan words finally hit the nail on the head. She was instantly overjoyed. "Really? Lan? Sister, are you really that amazing?" "Yes, yes. Of course it's true. Lan even heard that Sister Wei made a telescope a while ago. I'm really impressed. When Lan grows up, I want to be as amazing as Sister Wei Lan blinked her eyes. Her naive and innocent look instantly made Mo Lingwei believe this girl. Lan is so obedient. The next time you come to Yun Mountain, Sister will bring you to catch bird eggs, fish and prawns. This woman really gets into character easily. Li Zixuan shook his head and thought unhappily in his heart. Of course, Lan was a little drama queen. This girl even acted out his journey to the west in the spring. Okay. Lan loves to catch bird eggs. Lan wants to fish too. When Lan heard that, she instantly clapped her hands excitedly. This time, she wasn't pretending. She was really excited. Li Zixuan frowned. To be honest, he was a little worried that Lan would be led astray by Mo Lingwei. Listen, picking bird nests, fishing and catching prawns. Is this something a girl should do? He didn't want her to become a tough woman. Cough, cough. Ink Girl, this is the bicycle that I asked Faubert to rush out a few days ago? Li Zixuan coughed dryly and quickly interrupted the conversation between the two. Mo Lingwei smiled and touched Lan's ponytail. She replied, "Yes. Now that the bicycle is here, I should go back. But this place is so far away from Yun Mountain. Yamacho, you can't bear to let me walk back, right?" "Ha, woman! You're tricking me again." When Li Zixuan heard that, he couldn't help but grumble in his heart. Chapter 980. Ink Girl, you mean? In front of the Li residence, Li Zixuan's old face couldn't help but darken. Of course, I'm borrowing Yamacho's bicycle to use. Don't worry, I'll ask Xiaoningzi to help me return it tomorrow. Mo Lingwei smiled and said. Li Zixuan was speechless. As expected, this woman wanted to trick him into giving her his bicycle again. Ahem. Since it's a long journey, why don't I borrow Ink Girl a horse to ride? Bicycles are very tiring to ride. No. Yamacho, I don't know how to ride a horse yet. Mo Lingwei pretended to be a weak woman and said. Li Zixuan almost spat in her face. He thought to himself, I don't believe you. If you don't know how to ride a horse, then no woman can ride a horse. But to be honest, Li Zixuan also understood that in terms of pestering, he couldn't compete with a woman. He could only helplessly say, "Okay. The bicycle is in the courtyard. You can go get it yourself." After saying that, he shook his head and was about to leave with Lan. "Thank you, Yamacho. Sister Lan, do you want to go to Yunshan with me today to play?" Mo Lingwei laughed and began to kidnap Lan. "Not today. Lan will find Sister Wei another day to play." Lan thought about it and still rejected. It was rare for Li Zixuan to accompany her to walk the dog. Lan felt that this place was more important. "Okay then. When you go to Yunshan next time, you must come and play with me." Mo Lingwei was a little reluctant to let go of Lan, this sweet little cutie. "Yes, yes. Of course, of course." Before leaving to walk the dog, Li Zixuan had already ordered someone to send the bicycles sent by the workshop to Li Chengqian. These 2 bicycles were specially made for old Li. They were painted with a layer of gold and had a dragon pattern on them. Mo Lingwei could be said to be fearless due to her ignorance. She actually dared to openly ride this carriage into the city. What was even more miraculous was that no soldiers stopped her along the way. Since the journey was safe, Li Zixuan didn't say anything. Anyway, when Li Chengqian asked Li for a bicycle, he didn't say that it had to be a brand new one that was fresh from the factory. It was normal for it to be covered in dust during the transportation. Besides, Mo Lingwei was helping Li test the car, wasn't she? The Imperial Palace. When it was close to noon, Li finished his morning court session. He walked out of Taiji Palace and headed for Lijing Palace. Under normal circumstances, he would have lunch with Zhang Sun Imperial Palace at noon. "Imperial Father, I've already asked for a bicycle from the Marquis of Yong, and to specially gift it to Imperial Father." After entering the west court of the Imperial Palace, it didn't take long for them to arrive at the Lijing Hall. However, they coincidentally ran into Li Chengqian. Li Chengqian bowed towards Li. Li raised his eyebrows and said in surprise, "Oh? It's rare for Chengqian to have such filial piety. I'll accept it." It could be seen that Li Chengqian took the initiative to gift the bicycle to Li. At this moment, when he heard Li agree, Li Chengqian smiled slightly and waved his hand behind him. Immediately, a guard carried a golden bicycle down from a carriage. It was especially dazzling under the sun. The dragon pattern on the body of the bicycle was vivid and lifelike, causing the entire bicycle to be filled with a domineering aura. The black tires were stable and restrained. There wasn't a trace of dust on them. Presumably, after the Eastern Palace received the bicycle from Li Zixuan in the morning, they must have arranged for someone to thoroughly clean it. Not bad, not bad. Li Zixuan, this brat, is quite thoughtful this time. Push it over here and let me try it." After Li looked it up and down, the satisfaction in his eyes grew stronger and stronger. After a while, he pointed at the golden chariot and smiled. Li Chengqian was shocked and hurriedly said, "Imperial Father, you absolutely can't. This bicycle is extremely unstable to ride. You need to master certain skills before you can officially ride it." Li said with some disbelief, "Back then, I wasn't afraid of the 18 rebellions. Now, how can a mere bicycle stump me? Chengqian, move aside. Today, I'll show you." After saying that, Old Li rolled up his sleeves and stepped forward to take the golden chariot from the hands of the Eastern Palace Guard. He already knew of the existence of bicycles from the information provided by Zhao Song. As for the operating principles of bicycles, he also had a rough idea based on the information. At this moment, touching the cold handlebars of the golden chariot, Li easily got onto the seat with his left foot still on the ground. "Your Majesty, this bicycle only has 2 wheels. I'm afraid it'll be difficult for it to stand. You are the ruler of a country. Every word and action of yours affects the people of the world. How can you put yourself in danger?" Just as Li Er was about to step on the pedals of the bicycle to start the ride, Empress Zhongsun walked out of the palace. She glanced at the golden chariot and hurriedly went forward to persuade him. Li Er respected and loved Empress Zhongsun. Seeing this scene, he hesitated for a moment and said, "Guanin's servant, I have martial arts. Besides, there's Zhao Song and the others beside me. I'll ride slowly. Don't worry." He was used to riding in the imperial carriage. Suddenly seeing this bicycle that could move quickly with its own strength, he suddenly felt an unbearable itch and wanted to ride it himself. Zhongsun looked at Zhao Song, who was standing at the side with his back bowed, and her heart calmed down. Empress Zhongsun was still very confident in the strength of this great eunuch, who had followed Li Er for more than 20 years. Then your majesty must be careful." Empress Zhongsun opened her mouth and finally responded. "Haha. Don't worry, Guanin's servant." Li Er laughed loudly and then stepped onto the bicycle without hesitation. However, good things didn't last long. Before he had gone 20 feet, the bicycle suddenly swerved to the left. "Your Majesty! Father!" Empress Zhongsun and Li Chengqian immediately let out a cry of surprise. Zhao Song had already gathered strength in the soles of his feet and was ready to fly over to save him. Bang! Everyone forgot that Li Er also had martial arts skills. Although he hadn't reached the level of a grandmaster, he wasn't far away. Almost at the instant Zhao Song moved, Li Er's left foot had already fiercely stepped on the ground, and the bicycle immediately stabilized. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. At this time, Li Er was already slightly used to the way the bicycle balanced left and right. He didn't stop and continued to step on the pedals. This time, the bicycle actually started to move forward steadily. Haha. Interesting. This bicycle is really interesting. Refreshing. Li Er rode the bicycle and circled the open space in front of the Lijing Palace twice. However, no traffic accident occurred. This extreme carefree and feeling of being in control of everything made Li Er laugh uncontrollably. "Father is really amazing. I heard that Qinke couldn't master this bicycle even after half a day of learning. I didn't expect Father to learn it in less than 15 minutes. Li Chengqian stood beside Empress Zhongsun and said with sincere admiration. Empress Zhongsun patted her chest and said, "Chengqian, you should bring this kind of thing in front of your father less in the future. Otherwise, Wei Zhuqing and the others will say something bad about your father again." Chapter 981. Yes, Mother. In front of Lijing Palace, Li Chengqian didn't refute Empress Zhongsun's words. Haha. Chengqian didn't do anything wrong, Maid Guanin, why are you so harsh? Li Er stopped the bicycle at the side and walked to Li Chengqian and Empress Zhongsun's side. Empress Zhongsun rolled her eyes at Li Er. Li Er smiled and said, "Maid Guanin, I just rode the bicycle a few times. You also saw that this bicycle is much more convenient than a carriage. It's light and doesn't require animal power. I believe that not long after, this bicycle will not only become popular among the people, but also the officials in the imperial court might ride it to morning court." Li Er really dared to think, but it wasn't impossible for him to have such thoughts. When China was just founded, there were no public buses or cars. Didn't the government officials and employees rely on bicycles to travel? Why can't the officials of Tang Empire ride bicycles? Empress Zhongsun was surprised and said, "Your Majesty, this bicycle isn't as stable as a carriage. Not everyone can ride it. I'm afraid that very few officials are willing to ride it." Li Er waved his hand and said with a smile, "Maid Guanin, this bicycle isn't difficult to learn. After the officials get used to it, it's not impossible to replace the carriage. At that time, it can also solve the problem of Chang'an streets being congested every morning. Chang'an might be the largest city in the world, but every morning, the streets would still be congested. Don't be surprised, there were also traffic jams in the Tang Dynasty. because every morning was the time when the streets were the most crowded. Some went out of the city to work, some went into the city to do business, and some rushed to school. Of course, the ones that directly caused the congestion were the carriages of the officials or rich merchants. These things were huge in size. Once they were side by side, it was easy to cause congestion, which was a waste of time. Li Er thought that once the bicycle replaced the carriage, the congestion would naturally be gone. His idea was very bold, and he wasn't the only one who had this idea. 3 days later, the new workshop of Strange Interest Pavilion produced the first batch of bicycles. There were a total of 40 bicycles. The advantage of the assembly line production model of a large factory was immediately reflected. Qin Manor, Qing Manor, Yuqi Manor, Niu Manor, and Duke Wei Manor send one to each family. Just say that this marquis, as a junior, is showing filial piety to them and thanking them for taking care of the Li family for the past year. In the workshop, Li Zixuan looked at the rows of brand new bicycles in front of him and instructed Pang Feiji. Yes, Marquis. Although Pang Feiji did not understand, he still bowed and accepted the order. Young master, this Faubert was a straightforward person. He would say whatever came to his mind. From his point of view, it was not easy to manufacture a bicycle. Li Zixuan had given away 5 taels of silver so easily. No matter how he looked at it, it was a little reckless. Although the 5 families had indeed taken care of the Li Zixuan, logically speaking, Li Zixuan was also very kind to the 5 families. The favors that should be repaid had long been repaid. Without waiting for him to finish, Li Zixuan waved his hand and interrupted. Faubert, you don't have to say any more. I have my own considerations. It's just a few bicycles, we can't be so short-sighted. Hearing this, Uncle Fu could only swallow the words that were at the tip of his tongue. After thinking for a while, Uncle Fu said, Young master, let's sell the remaining 35 cars at Strange Interest Pavilion. What's the fixed price? Who knew that Li Zixuan would shake his head again and only heard him say, Faubert, the Strange Taste Pavilion will not sell a single one of the remaining bicycles. All of them will be given to the major shareholders of the Yan Huang Chamber of Commerce. According to the shares that they originally bought, the Wang family will get 10 bicycles, Chao Wendong will get 8, Lin Wenyuan, Liao Shifan and Zhang Jingyang will get 4 each, and the Crown Prince will get 5 each. In the future, when the workshop produces new products, they will be given priority. If there is any surplus, they will be given to the Strange Taste Pavilion. Hearing this, Faubert was shocked. Young master, if we do this, the Strange Taste Pavilion's position in the hearts of the people will drop in the future. The main reason why the Strange Taste Pavilion had become the most popular shop in Chang, and in such a short period of time, was that it could provide novel products that were not available anywhere else. Now that Li Zixuan wanted to give priority to the new products produced by the workshop to the members of the Chamber of Commerce, this was a bit of a blow to the Strange Taste Pavilion. Li Zixuan had already considered this point. He nodded and said, You have to give up something to gain something. After all, the Strange Taste Pavilion's influence is limited. We need an alliance with the Chamber of Commerce to sell the workshop's products to the entire Tang Empire. Currently, the Strange Taste Pavilion needs to change its business model. In the future, the workshop and the members of the Chamber of Commerce will all be handed over to manager's son of the Strange Taste Pavilion to handle. Furthermore, our workshop's production capacity is gradually increasing, so the Strange Taste Pavilion's shortage won't last for long. The overall loss is still within our acceptable range. After hearing this, Faubert couldn't help but admire Li Zixuan's vision of the big picture. His own considerations were still too one-sided. Young master is wise. This old man's thinking was too simple. But how much does young master intend to set the price of the bicycle? Li Zixuan raised 3 fingers and said, Sell it to the members of the Chamber of Commerce at 300 strings of coins per bicycle. As for the specific price, let them discuss it themselves, but it can't be higher than 400 strings of coins. In the 70s and 80s of China, an ordinary worker's monthly salary was 19 yuan. After working for a year or two, the salary would increase to 20 yuan. At that time, a Forever brand or Phoenix brand bicycle would sell for around 180 yuan. Even if they saved 15 yuan every month, they would still have to save it for a year. According to the salary at that time, a year's total salary would be around 200 yuan. A Phoenix brand bicycle was almost equivalent to an ordinary worker's annual salary. According to the rate of increase in wages, the wages of workers in the 21st century had increased by nearly 230 times compared to the wages of workers in the past. In other words, if the Forever brand or Phoenix brand of bicycles were to be exchanged in the 21st century, the price would be as high as 40,000 yuan. Also, there was one point that couldn't be ignored. That was the iron of this era was much more expensive than the iron of the modern era. Therefore, Li Zixuan's price of 300 strings of coins per bicycle wasn't expensive at all. This was because the cost of a bicycle was about 170 to 180 strings of coins. Faubert wasn't surprised. He nodded and said, "En? Then this old man will go arrange it." "Good. Also, the workshop needs to hurry up. The demand for bicycles will only increase. This is a blank market, but it's also a market with huge potential. In a while, I will let Tang daily start promoting bicycles," Li Zixuan said in a deep voice. "Yes, young master." Chapter 982. Hey! Out of the east gate, not going home. Coming to the door, feeling sad. Not having a bucket of rice to store, I still see no hanging clothes on the shelf. Drawing my sword to the east gate, my children cry. Early in the morning, at dawn, Cheng Yaojin was humming a tune as he pedaled his bicycle and rode on the streets of Chang'an. This old man was famous for his loud voice. What was supposed to be a sad Han Dynasty folk song, Journey to the East Gate, was hummed with a festive flavor by him. What a talent! Emperor Wu of the Han Dynasty established the UFU as a palace music institution and a specialized institution to collect folk songs from the people. Later, the songs created by this institution and the folk songs collected and processed by this institution were gradually called UFU. Yo! It's old Fong. Haha. Have you been stuck here for a while? When he reached the crossroads where the four neighborhoods of Taiping Square, Tongyi Square, Shanhe Square, and Tunghua Square faced, Cheng Yaojin saw that the road ahead was congested. He had long been accustomed to this, but today, he did not take a carriage or ride a horse, so he was not afraid of the traffic jam. At the critical moment, the old guy showed off his riding skills and nimbly bypassed the crowd. Then, he happened to see the Fong family's carriage. Cheng Yaojin was suddenly happy and quickly shouted into the carriage. "Cheng Jijie? What are you riding?" Fong Xianling heard a familiar voice outside the carriage. He opened the curtain and saw Cheng Yaojin and the bicycle he was riding outside the carriage. He asked curiously. "Haha. I, old Cheng, am riding a bicycle. It seems that there will be a traffic jam ahead for a while. I, old Cheng, will not wait for you. I will go first." After Cheng Yaojin finished speaking, he rode the bicycle and dodged left and right in front of Fong Xuanling's surprised eyes. In the blink of an eye, he was drowned in the crowd ahead. Bicycle? Looking at Cheng Jijie's appearance, it seems that this bicycle relies on its own strength to move forward. The speed is not slow and the body is light. It looks good, but I wonder where this old guy bought it from? Fong Xianling watched Cheng Yaojin leave, then he leaned against the carriage and muttered to himself. "Old Lu, good morning." "Haha. Good morning, old Yan." At the bottom of the stairs in front of Taiji Palace, the civil and military officials who had arrived early were all gathered together in groups of 3 or 4, whispering to each other. However, it was still early, so not many people had come, perhaps only a dozen or so officials. While everyone was talking, Cheng Yaojin strode over from afar and greeted a few acquaintances one by one. Duke of Lu? Why are you here so early today? Yen Lide's shoulder was patted by Cheng Yaojin and almost fell apart. The corner of his mouth twitched slightly, then he turned around and looked at old Cheng. Cheng Yaojin lived in Blessed Virtue Lane, which was the lane furthest to the west of Chang'an City. It was quite a distance away from the imperial palace, so every time he came to the morning court session, he would be slightly later than the others. On the other hand, Yen Lide lived in Eternal Peace Lane, which was almost at the center of Chang'an City. He only needed to pass through a few lanes to reach the imperial palace, so he didn't even need to take a carriage. It could be said that the Yen family's residence was extremely friendly to Yen Lide's workplace. That was why Yen Lide was so surprised to see Cheng Yaojin come so early today. Haha. Old Cheng recently got a new kind of bicycle. Its speed is very fast and the body is very agile. It can shuttle through the crowd at will, and it runs much faster than a carriage. That's why I came earlier today than before. Cheng Yaojin laughed proudly. Yes, that's right. He was helping Li Zixuan advertise. Since Li Zixuan was so generous and gave him one of the first batch of bicycles produced by the workshop, how could he not return the favor? One had to know that when it came to high-end things like bicycles, the officials were also one of the main consumers. If he didn't advertise it here, was he going to advertise it among the commoners? Duke of Lu, what kind of bicycle is so magical? After hearing old Cheng's description, Lu Dui became curious and couldn't help but ask. It should be the new bicycle produced by Strange Interest Pavilion, right? I've heard a little about it, but I haven't had the chance to ride it myself. After hearing what Duke of Lu said today, I'll have to give it a try when I go back. Yen Lide frowned and thought for a while. Then, he suddenly understood. His son, Yen Xiaoning, had always been in Yunshan and had been in contact with the new workshop. How could Yen Lide not know about the new bicycle produced by the workshop? Therefore, after thinking for a while, he understood what the new bicycle old Cheng was talking about was. Cheng Yaojin was stunned, then he laughed and said, "Ha ha! That's right, that's right. It's a bicycle. Old Yen, with your son's relationship with Xiao Xian, it's not difficult to get a bicycle. This bicycle is really convenient. You must give it a try when you go back." Lu Dui, the Chancellor of the Supreme Court, asked suspiciously, "Duke of Lu, is this bicycle really as good as you say?" Cheng Yaojin patted his chest and said, "How can I lie when I say it? Old Lu, it's okay if you don't believe me. When there are more people riding bicycles, you'll naturally understand the benefits of bicycles." Haha. Jijia didn't lie. This old man also rode a bicycle here today, and it was almost a quarter of an hour faster than usual. This bicycle doesn't need animal power, and it can be ridden anywhere. It's extremely convenient. At this time, Niu Jinda also came to Taiji Palace. He laughed and said, "Haha, you're all here so early. I thought I was the only one who could come so early today." Coincidentally or not, when Niu Jinda had just arrived, Yuqi Jingda had also arrived right behind him. "Old Black, you're really shameless. You're behind me, and you still have the face to say that you're early?" Cheng Yaojin curled his lips and retorted. Yuqi Jingda said with a dark face, "Humph. I woke up half an hour late today, or I would have definitely come earlier than you, lunatic Cheng. Hey, even if you didn't wake up late, you still didn't come earlier than me. I was already here half an hour ago. Old Cheng, have a bicycle." "Haha," Cheng Yaojin said proudly. Yuqi Jingda was obviously stunned, and he said with a strange expression, "You have a bicycle too?" "Yes." Cheng Yaojin answered subconsciously, then felt that something was wrong. He glared and said, "What do you mean I have one too? Don't tell me you, Old Black, also have a bicycle?" Yuqi Jingda snorted. "Of course. Cheng Yaojin looked unhappy and immediately retorted, "Heh? Little Xian giving you this bicycle is really a waste. You said this bicycle was originally black, and you're riding on it. The sky is a little darker, and passers-by can't tell the difference between the bicycle and you. They might even be injured by you. TSK. This old guy was using different methods to say that Yuqi Jingda was as black as a bicycle. Yuqi Jingda was furious. Lunatic Qing, do you want to fight again? Then let's fight. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Chapter 983. Jijia Jingda. It's so noisy in front of Taiji Palace. What a scandal. Cheng Yaojin and Yuqi Jingda were used to fighting each other. Qin Xiong, who had arrived later, couldn't help but scold them in a low voice. Hey! Second brother, you're here so early too. Did Xiao Xian give you a bicycle too? Cheng Yaojin said with a rough smile. Qin Xiong nodded and said, This old man tried it yesterday and found that this car is much more convenient than the carriage, so I rode it here this morning. Just now I saw 3 bicycles at the gate of the imperial city. They should belong to Jijia Jingda and Jinda, right? Niu Jinda swept a glance at this pair of old foes in the field and said with a smile, Haha, it shouldn't be too bad. Looks like Xiao Xian gave each of us a bicycle. Qing Jijia gave a thumbs up. Haha, there's nothing to say about this child's ability and character. He's a good junior. Isn't that apothecary? Yuqi Jingda's eyes were sharp. He saw Li Jing walking towards them from not far away and spoke. Everyone turned their attention to Li Jing. Haha, apothecary, why are you so late today? Didn't Xiao Xian give you a bicycle? That shouldn't be. In terms of seniority, you're Han Yushi's grandfather. When Li Jing walked over, Cheng Yaojin couldn't wait to ask. He said that he was asking, but this old fellow was actually showing off. Many times, invisible posturing was the most fatal. How could Li Jing not understand Cheng Yaojin's thoughts, but old Cheng was destined to not be able to pretend. Yesterday, Xiao Xian sent someone to deliver a bicycle to me. It seems to be called a bicycle. Hearing this, the smile on Cheng Yaojin's face froze. Then, apothecary, you didn't ride it over today? Haven't you learned it yet? Li Jing blushed and coughed dryly. That's not it. This bicycle isn't difficult to learn, but it was used by Hong Fu these 2 days. I still rode a carriage today. Oh, I see. Cheng Yaojin said with disappointment. Not far away, the other court officials saw that it was so lively here and couldn't help but whisper in groups. What are the dukes talking about? They're laughing so happily. I don't know. But High Duke Lu has always attended court late. Why are you here so early today? I know. It's said that the Marquis of Yong gifted a bicycle to each of the dukes yesterday. They all rode their bicycles here today, that's why they arrived so quickly. Bicycle? What kind of car is this? Why haven't I heard of it before? Hey! It's most likely a new car from Marquis Yong An's workshop. Is this bike really that good? Exactly. No matter how good it is, can it be better than not touching me in the strange interest pavilion? Haha. You can't say that. Both types of cars have their own advantages. It's said that this bicycle doesn't need animal power to move. If you want to move, you can just use your feet to move. Moreover, the body of the bicycle is extremely small. As long as a person can pass by, the bicycle can pass by. It's not like a horse carriage, which is abnormally heavy and often causes congestion on the streets. There's such a car in this world? Assistant Minister Wang, how do you know this so clearly? A few days ago, when the Marquis of Yong was riding his bicycle back to Chang, my wife and I were just about to go to the East Market, so we bumped into him. This is something that I, Wang, saw with my own eyes. Whoa! If this bicycle is really as good as Assistant Minister Wang says, then this Zhang will buy one no matter what. This way, it will be very convenient for me to go to court every day. I wonder how much this bicycle costs? Where can I sell it? It should be sold at the Strange Interest Pavilion. But as for the price, I really don't know. But I think it will be much cheaper than not touching me. At the palace, Qing Yaojin, Niu Jinda, Qin Xiong, and the others were helping Li Zixuan advertise. Li Zixuan had already made arrangements. According to the plan, today was the day that the bicycles would be sold. First of all, Tang Daily would definitely cooperate. Hey, come and take a look. The bicycles are going on sale. Early in the morning, as today's newspaper was put up for sale from the editorial department of Chitsu Culture, the people found a piece of breaking news in a prominent position of the newspaper. The peaceful Chang'an city was suddenly in an uproar. Really? When will it be sold? Where can I sell it? Is it in the Strange Interest Pavilion? I'll start selling it today. But it's not in the Strange Interest Pavilion. Hearing that the bicycles would not be sold at the Strange Interest Pavilion, many people were in disbelief. What? It's not in the Strange Interest Pavilion? How is that possible? The bicycles were created by Marquis Yong, and if it's not in the Strange Interest Pavilion, where else can it be? Did you see wrongly? I didn't see wrongly. According to the newspaper, the bicycles from Chi-Chu Pavilion will be officially on sale today. The locations will be Shi City's Craftsman Pavilion, Chao Family's Treasure Pavilion, Lin Family's Qin Yazhai, Zhang Family's Yuan Xian, Liao Family's Yu Bao Tang, Feng Family's Kun Bao Pavilion, Lin Family's Wuzong Zhai, and Wang Family's Ju Bao Zhai. Craftsman Pavilion, Treasure Pavilion, Elegant Pavilion, Jade Treasure Hall? Why these shops? What about the Strange Interest Pavilion? Why isn't there any Strange Interest Pavilion? Hey, how would I know? How can we, the common people, understand Marquis Yong An's thoughts? Then, how much is the price of this bicycle? 400 strings of coins. And the quantity is limited. 400 strings of coins? It's not that expensive, it's cheaper than a normal horse carriage. But these shops probably don't have that much stock. We might not be able to get it. Sigh. I thought it would be sold at the Strange Interest Pavilion. I still have a purple membership card there. This sentence struck a chord in many people's hearts. One must know that the Strange Interest Pavilion now had a very large number of members. There were many people who wanted to use their membership cards to get the bicycles. Yeah. I also have a purple membership card at the Strange Interest Pavilion. I thought I could use this to get the upper hand. Looks like I'll be happy for nothing. Hey. The newspaper also says that the Strange Interest Pavilion membership cards that were sold previously have been renamed to Flaming Yellow Chamber of Commerce membership card. Members of all ranks will enjoy the same treatment in the shops above. But all members will have to pay membership fees to the Flaming Yellow Chamber of Commerce every year. From now on, there will only be Flaming Yellow Chamber of Commerce membership cards. Wow. Marquis is awesome. Damn. Why didn't you say so earlier? Tang, quick, bring the horse over. This young master wants to go to Shi City to buy a bicycle. Brother Zhang, wait. I'll go with you. After hearing Li Zixuan's decision, those who had Strange Interest Pavilion membership cards immediately rushed to Shi City. Chapter 984. Master, back then, we sold off our other businesses and used everything we had to get 45,000 strings of cash to become the first member of the Yanhuang Chamber of Commerce. But now we only have 4 bicycles, and one of them was given to Xiao Hao. Even if we can earn 100 strings of cash per bicycle, 4 bicycles will only earn 400 strings of cash. Isn't it a bit of a loss for us to buy this membership? West City, Lin Family's Qingyazhai, 2nd floor. A well-dressed madam stood beside Lin Wenyuan and said worriedly. Lin Wenyuan was unmoved and said with a smile, "Madam, you have to look at the long term when doing business. Our Lin family was just a nobody in Chang'an before, but after this incident, we became one of the 7 largest bicycle suppliers in the Tang Empire. Soon, we will be famous all over the world. With fame, do you have to worry about not being able to make money? Madam, you also said that we can earn 100 strings of cash per bicycle, so 100 bicycles will be 10,000 strings of cash, and 1,000 bicycles will be 100,000 strings of cash. Where else can we find such a good business? Madam Lin rolled her eyes at Lin Wenyuan and said unhappily, "How can I not know this? But with the ability of the Curious Pavilion's workshop, when will they be able to give us so many bicycles?" Lin Wenyuan frowned and then relaxed. "Madam, don't underestimate Marquis's workshop. This time, the workshop produced a total of 40 bicycles. Marquis gave one to each of the 5 Grand Dukes, and the remaining 35 were all given to us. The Curious Pavilion did not get a single one. From this, we can see that Marquis values the membership of the Chamber of Commerce. This also shows that Marquis has big plans, and it is not just limited to Chang'an. In the next few years, bicycles will be sold to all the provinces and counties in the Tang Empire. How big of a business would this be? We spent 40,000 strings of cash to buy this membership, and we will definitely make a profit." Madam Lin thought for a moment and said, "I don't care about this anymore. No matter what, Master is right. I'm going back. Xiao Hao got the bicycle, don't mess around at home and hurt yourself." Lin Wenyuan said crossly, "Heh? Madam, if you have the time to worry about that stinking brat, why don't you find a way to find him a master of mathematics? No matter what, you have to let him try for the Yanwang College entrance exam next year. If he can pass, this old man will have no more desires in this life." Although under normal circumstances, the sons of businessmen could not participate in the imperial examinations, nor could they become officials in the imperial court, he had never expected his son to become an official. He only hoped that his son could learn some knowledge in Yanwang College, so that he could inherit the family business in the future. Madam Lin rolled her eyes at her husband again. "Master, don't you know what kind of nature our family's Xiao Hao has? It's fine if you want him to lie down and read novels, but aren't you making things difficult for him by asking him to read books to get into Yanwang College?" Lin Wenyuan said with a dark face, "That stinking brat has been spoiled by you, madam. Our family business is so big, and we still have to pass it to him in the future. But look at him now, eating, sleeping and reading novels all day and occasionally going out to walk the dog. He's so old and he can't even understand an account book. When the family business is handed to him in the future, when we leave, won't he lose all the family business and starve to death?" Madam Lin sighed. She opened her mouth and tried to persuade, "Master, our family's Xiao Hao is still young." "What young? He's 14 this year. What was Marquis doing when he was 14? What was he doing? I say, madam, you can't continue to spoil him like this, you're harming him." Lin Wenyuan advised with a serious expression. Madam Lin thought for a moment and finally nodded. "Yes, master. I'll help Xiao Hao find a master soon." After saying that, Madam Lin turned around and went downstairs. However, she was shocked by the bustling scene at the entrance of the shop. "I have the strange interest pavilion. Oh no, I have the purple membership card of the Yanwang Chamber of Commerce. I want to cut the queue, I want to buy a bicycle." "You think you're so great because you have a purple membership card? I have one too, and it's also purple. What right do you have to stand in front of me? Hey! Get out of the way, my family's young master has the red Supreme membership card. All of you get out of the way." Wow! Red Supreme membership card? Madam Lin couldn't help but be stunned. She knew that the elegant pavilion only had 3 bicycles, but there were hundreds of people queuing up in front of her. Basically, everyone had a membership card of the Yanwang Chamber of Commerce, and most of them were too embarrassed to take out their purple membership cards. This meant that they were all rich people in Chang'an City. Maybe Master's decision is right. As long as Marquis gives us enough goods, our Lin family can definitely become rich with this membership of the Chamber of Commerce. Madame Lin muttered to herself. Actually, there weren't many people in the elegant pavilion, but there were many people in Chang, a city, who knew the inside information. They all ran to the Chow family's appraisal pavilion to queue up. That was because they had the most bicycles, with a total of 8 bicycles, which was the most in Chang and city. Actually, the Wang family's treasure house should have the most bicycles, with 10 of them. But for some reason, the Wang family's treasure house was not open today. It was probably because the Wang family didn't want to expand their market in Chang and city. Boss Chow, I have my master's Red Supreme membership card, and I'm the first one here. No matter what, I have to get a bicycle today, right? Of course. Little brother, please go in and hand over your bicycles. Someone will deliver them to you. Chow Wendong said with a smile when he saw the young man in front of the queue holding the red membership card of the Strange Interest Pavilion. Thank you, Boss Chow. After a while, the young man came out of Chow Wendong's appraisal pavilion, pushing a brand new bicycle with a smile on his face. Wow, so this is a bicycle. It looks so cool. Tisk tsk, selling this bicycle for 400 strings of coins isn't expensive at all. I heard that a bicycle doesn't require animal power. Don't tell me you only need to step on the pedals on the plate? That's right. The last time I saw the Duke of Yong and he rode it like this. Hey, I wonder if it'll be my turn. I just happened to be ranked 8th. If I had known earlier, I would have bought a Red Supreme membership card. The young man who received the bicycle left proudly under the envious gazes and exclamations of the crowd. The people behind him went into the queue to pay for their bicycles. After the 7th person received his bicycle, Chow Xiaodong came out and clasped his hands to the crowd. He said apologetically, "Dear friends, I'm really sorry. All the bicycles in the appraisal pavilion are sold out today. Please come back another day. I'm really sorry." Hearing his words, the people in the queue couldn't stand it anymore. No, Boss Chow, you've only sold a few bicycles. How could they be sold out already? Yeah. I heard that your shop has 8 bicycles today. Where's the last one? Hurry up and give it to me. Chow Wendong smiled bitterly and said, I'm really sorry. There were 8 bicycles originally, but I gave one to my son. Please come back another day when you have more bicycles. Chapter 985. The Legend of a Mortal's Journey to Immortality. Chapter 173. The Third Extreme Mountain. Han Li thought happily in his heart and clenched his other hand. After a sharp sound, countless golden threads appeared out of thin air, circled around his fist for a while, and then disappeared in a flash. At the same time, the sound of thunder and firecrackers sounded in Han Li's body, and a force much stronger than before surged out from all parts of his meridians. South of Chang'an City, Anlu House, Lin family's backyard. At this time, the whole courtyard was bathed in sunlight. A young man in brocade clothes was lying on a soft couch, basking in the sun. The young man was a little fat, especially his round belly, which looked particularly conspicuous. The young man was very good at enjoying himself. A maid was serving him tea, another maid was massaging his shoulders, another maid was massaging his legs, and another maid was standing next to him reading the latest issue of the Tang dailies, The Legend of a Mortal's Journey to Immortality. In terms of enjoyment, perhaps even Li Zixuan couldn't compare with this young man. The action of breaking through the bottleneck of the great vehicle stage is naturally far from comparable to the previous bottlenecks of the void refinement and combination stage. The explosion of the world's essence chi during the breakthrough is enough to destroy the world, so naturally, it can't directly trigger the great vehicle stage tribulation in the secret room. After a decisive expression flashed across Han Li's face, he immediately stood up and walked towards the stone door with large strides. Young master, that is all. Time passed slowly, and in 15 minutes, The little maid finished reading the Legend of a Mortal's Journey to Immortality. The young man opened his eyes and said lazily, Finished so soon? Yes, young master. The young man sighed and said, Tisk, it's already more than 2,100 chapters. The Legend of a Mortal's Journey to Immortality should be finished soon, right? The little maid who was reading the book earlier said, Young master, the scholars outside are saying that the Legend of a Mortal's Journey to Immortality is too long and too simple, and there is no literary talent at all. Why do you still like to read it so much? The young man said disdainfully, Tsk, I like to read this kind of novel, what can they do? This young master can't even get used to reading their novels. Hey! Actually, those pedantic scholars just don't like the fact that Leather Knight made so much money from A Mortal's Journey to Immortality. Just ignore them. If they have the ability, they can write a novel that is comparable to A Mortal's Journey to Immortality, and then come out and criticize it. Yes, that's right. There were already novels in the Tang Dynasty, and there were quite a number of them. The history of the development of China's ancient novels was as follows. Before the Song Dynasty, the classical short stories developed in a single line. During the Song and Yuan dynasties, classical short stories and vernacular short stories developed in a double line. Since the Ming Dynasty, classical short stories, vernacular long stories and short stories developed in multiple lines, showing a colorful state. The Wei, Jin, Southern and Northern dynasties could be called childhood in ancient novels. At this time, there were also Zhiren and Zhiguai novels, which were collectively called notebook novels. During this period, our country's novels were beginning to take shape, but these novels were not mature enough in terms of art. They were only rough sketches, and the characters they described could not be written with a complete image. Most of the stories they wrote were factual in nature, and lacked artistic fiction. The authors were just collecting anecdotes, not consciously creating novels. Compared to A Mortal's Journey to Immortality, the novels of that period could only be described as simple. A novel would be considered long if it had 30,000 to 40,000 words. The Tang Dynasty could be said to be the mature period of ancient novels. The Tang Dynasty produced Legends of the Tang Dynasty. The appearance of Legends of the Tang Dynasty marked the maturity of our country's classical novels. Compared to the works of childhood, the novels of the Tang Dynasty had made great progress. They consciously wrote novels, from ghosts and gods, and from anecdotes to real life, creating and improving a lot in terms of art. The famous legends of the Tang Dynasty included Jiang Fang's Huaxiaoyu Yuan Zhen's Yinging, Li Chaowei's Lui, and Bai Xinjian's Li Hua. However, the novels mentioned above did not appear in the early Tang Dynasty. Most of the popular novels in the early years of Xinguan were written during the Wei, Jin, and Northern and Southern dynasties. It was because of this historical background that the novel A Mortal's Journey to Immortality, which had a grand worldview, rich characters, and fast-paced plot, quickly attracted a large number of loyal readers when it was published. Those who complained that A Mortal's Journey to Immortality had no literary talent and no substance, who knew how many of them secretly read it? The young maidservant covered her mouth and laughed softly, hee. If those scholars heard what young master said, they would be furious. The young man said disdainfully, It's none of my business whether they are furious or not. Oh right. Didn't I ask my father for a bicycle? Shao Qin quickly asked Bao Shun to push it over. It turned out that this young man was Lin Wenyuan's son, Lin Hao. He could be considered as a rich second-generation heir. The maidservant, Shao Qin, nodded and said, Yes. Young master wants to ride a bicycle? That's great. The rest of the maidservants were also excited. Recently, the news about bicycles in Chang had spread like wildfire. They also wanted to see what a bicycle looked like. Fortunately, their master had snatched the first delivery rights of a bicycle. Their young master was the first to have a bicycle. As servants, they would be able to follow along and broaden their horizons. Unexpectedly, Lin Hao sat up from the pedals and knocked on the maidservant's head, saying, "You wicked girl! How can you let your young master do this kind of physical work personally? Of course, I will let Bao Shun ride it later. Shao Qin, you have been with me for so long for nothing." "Ah? Young master?" The maidservant, Shao Qin, widened her eyes. She was thinking, young master, you let someone else ride the bicycle, then where is the fun in that? If this girl had transmigrated from the modern world, she would definitely not have such doubts, because she would understand that there was a type of bicycle called cloud riding. In the modern world, there was a group of people called otakus. Usually, they didn't want to make friends or fall in love, so they would do it through the internet cloud. If they didn't want to travel, they would use Google Earth or a game with a more outstanding style, such as the best car, Grand Theft Auto, to travel the world's famous rivers and mountains. However, Li Zixuan probably didn't expect that there would be such a real otaku like Lin Hao in the Tang Dynasty. "What ah? Hurry up and go," Lin Hao reprimanded, then lay down again. The maidservant responded and hurriedly went to pass down the instructions. A short while later, a very spirited young man in green pushed a bicycle over. Without waiting for him to bow, Lin Hao got up and said excitedly, "Ha ha! Bao Shun, come and ride this bicycle. Don't worry, if you fall and hurt yourself, I will pay for your medical expenses." Chapter 986. Hey 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 Bao Shun, press on the left handlebar, the bike is going to fall. F***CK. You better be careful. I only have this damn bike, if you break it, I won't be able to buy it even if I have money. Stupid. You don't even know how to ride a bike, are you a piece of trash? Haha. Shao Qin, luckily I'm smart and didn't ride it myself. Otherwise, wouldn't I be like this idiot Bao Shun and have shit all over my body? Yes. Steady. Just ride it like this. Haha. Circle it twice in this courtyard for me. Yes. Awesome. Really damn awesome. Bao Shun, throw away one hand and see if you can ride it with only one hand? Wow. Amazing. It really works. Let's see. In the backyard of the Lin family, under the instigation of Lin Hao, the servant Bao Shun began his journey of learning how to ride a bicycle. At first, because he was not used to riding a two-wheeled bicycle, this unlucky child fell down many times and was scolded many times. In the end, he was finally able to ride steadily. Looking at him riding the bike in the breeze, Lin Hao sat on the couch with a face of enjoyment, as if he was the one riding the bike. He really used the concept of riding in the clouds to the extreme, making the scalps of the four maidservants tingle. Cough cough. While they were laughing and chatting, a cold cough suddenly came from the side. "Madam." The four little maidservants were the first to react from the joy brought to them by the bicycle. They bowed and said, "It was Lin Wenyuan's wife, who had returned from Shi City." "Ha! Mother is back. Mother, come and sit. Xiao Hua, the weather is so cold, quickly pour a cup of hot water for my mother." Lin Hao noticed the movement beside him, turned around, and hurriedly stood up with a smile. "Yes, young master." The maidservant who helped massage Lin Hao's legs before went to carry out the order. A trace of warmth flashed through Madame Lin's eyes, and she swallowed the words of reprimand that were about to come out of her mouth. This young man in front of her was indeed a little ignorant and incompetent, but no matter what, he was still born from her 10 months of pregnancy. "Xiao Hao, this bicycle was obtained by your father with great difficulty. How can you let a servant ride it? What if it breaks?" Mrs. Lin patted her son's hand and motioned for him to sit down. Then, she sat down beside him and said, "Before today, she might have thought that a bicycle was nothing. It was only a few hundred strings of coins, and the Lin family could still afford it. But today in Shi City, when she saw hundreds and thousands of people queuing up just to grab a few bicycles, she finally understood how precious bicycles were. Even if you had money, you might not be able to buy one. Wasn't the reason why the Lin family had it because they were members of the Chamber of Commerce? After Lin Hao heard his mother's words, he smiled and said, "Mother, this bicycle is so dangerous to ride. If I try to ride it, I might fall and hurt myself. When that happens, you will definitely be heartbroken. That's why I let Baoshun ride first." When Mrs. Lin heard this, she also felt that it was reasonable. She dropped the topic and changed the topic. "Xiao Hao, have you finished the homework that Mr. Yichuan left for you?" This Mr. Yichuan, whose surname was Wang, was a famous scholar in Wanyan County of Chang'an. In the previous dynasty, he was a scholar. After the Sui dynasty destroyed the Tang dynasty, although he didn't participate in the imperial examinations again, he was still very famous in Wanyan County. Lin Wenyuan had spent a lot of money and pulled a lot of strings to finally invite this old man to teach Lin Hao one day every 10 days. Lin Hao's face was full of resentment and said, "Mother, that old man looks down on us from the bottom of his heart. Why should I do the homework that he left for me? We don't owe him anything. What right does he have to look down on us? If it weren't for you and Father stopping me, I would have already gotten someone to beat him up." "How dare you?" Lin Mu glared at her son. Then, she said to the maids and servants around her, "All of you leave. If anyone dares to say what Hao said just now, I'll tear his mouth apart." The servants were shocked and hurriedly said, "Yes, madam." After they all left, Mrs. Lin looked at Lin Hao and said earnestly, "Xiao Hao, I know that Mr. Yichuan looks down on us, but I don't blame him. Since ancient times, scholars, farmers, workers, and merchants, our Lin family has been doing business for generations. Although we don't have to worry about food and clothing, in the eyes of scholars, we are destined to be inferior. This is something that no one can change. Your father invited Mr. Yichuan to teach you poetry, but he didn't expect you to participate in the imperial examinations and pass the imperial examinations. He only hoped that you can be reasonable and have a clear mind so that you can inherit the family business he created for you. After all, the children of merchants can't enter the imperial court and become officials." Lin Hao immediately said unconvinced, "Mother, isn't Marquis Yong from a merchant family? Isn't he a noble marquis now?" Mrs. Li patted her son's arm and said unhappily, "Marquis Yong is a special case. He has an immortal master and has a lot of skills. How can we, mere mortals, compare to him?" "But mother, I heard that Marquis Yong An's Yanwang College didn't forbid the children of merchants from entering. After those students leave school, can't they use the skills they learned in Yanwang College to enter the imperial court and become officials?" Lin Hao frowned and said. At this moment, Mrs. Lin's eyes revealed an imperceptible smile. She said softly, "That's hard to say. However, if they can enter Yanwang College, even if they can't learn 50% of Marquis Yong An's skills, they should be able to learn 10% or 20%. Just based on this 10% or 20% of skills, they are people with great prospect. Let's not talk about anything else. Just the fact that Marquis Yong is willing to give the children of merchants this opportunity to enter the imperial court is worthy of our gratitude." It was rare that Lin Hao didn't refute. He nodded and said, Marquis Yong is indeed different from others. He is an interesting person." Mrs. Lin immediately smiled and said, "Then little Hao, have you thought of going to Yanwang College to study? In another half a year, Yanwang College will hold another entrance exam. Do you want to try? Who knows, it might be more interesting than home." When Lin Hao heard this, his head shook like a rattle drum. "No, no, no, mother. With this bit of knowledge in my stomach, how can I enter Yanwang College? You should give up on this idea as soon as possible." Mrs. Lin said in a deep voice, "Little Hao, how do you know you can't if you haven't tried? There are still 9 months until next year's entrance exam. Mother heard people say that there is a 7 or 8-year-old foolish child in the Han village who only studied for 2 months and got in. Mother knows that you aren't stupid. You are just lazy. If you are determined to enter Yanhuang College now, Mother believes that you will be able to get in next year. Chapter 987. Mother, how can Yanhuang College be more interesting than home? Ahem, what I mean is, I just want to stay at home and be filial to you and Father. I don't want to go anywhere. In the backyard of the Lin family, Lin Hao's expression changed when he heard that his mother wanted him to go to Yanhuang College. He stayed at home every day to sunbathe, listen to novels, and play with the servant girls. He was so free and unfettered. Why would he bother to study late at night and prepare for Yanhuang College's entrance exam? Wasn't this just looking for trouble for himself? Mother Lin frowned and relaxed after a while. She said, "Little Hao, you can't say that. You haven't been to Yanhuang College. How would you know that Yanhuang College isn't as interesting as home? Besides, your father and mother are still healthy. Why would we need you to stay at home? A good man should aim to travel far. What's wrong with staying at home all day?" Lin Hao pinched his chin and remained unmoved. Mother Lin saw this and said, "Little Hao, Mother heard that the college has some kind of telescope that can see the moon far away from us. This thing is a heavenly observation tool made by the college. It can see the stars in the 9 heavens. It's a divine tool." "What? Yanhuang College has such an awesome thing? Why didn't I know about it?" When Lin Hao heard this, his eyes widened. From his mother's words, he seemed to have discovered something even more interesting. Logically speaking, listening to novels at home and teasing the maidservants was definitely not as interesting as using a telescope to look at the sky. The sky. Since ancient times, the mysterious sky had always been something people yearned for. Because of this, many ancient myths and legends had been passed down. Although Lin Hao was a fat otaku, he couldn't resist this temptation. Seeing that there was hope, Mother Lin smiled and said, "Silly child, why would Mother lie to you? Actually, ordinary people don't know about this yet. But your father is a member of the Marquis Yong, and Marquis Chamber of Commerce, so he knows about this. Mother has told you, but you can't casually tell outsiders. Otherwise, your father will be harmed by you." Lin Hao was still in shock from seeing the sky through a telescope. He subconsciously nodded. "And, Mother, don't worry, I won't speak carelessly." Lin's mother smiled and said, "Then, Xiao Hao, are you willing to go to Yanhuang College now?" Lin Hao looked hesitant and frowned. When Mama Lin saw this, she smiled and said, "Then I'll help you find a new mathematics teacher to tutor you. With my son's intelligence, it won't be a problem for you to get into Yanhuang College in 9 months." Bicycles were sold out on the first day, but people's enthusiasm for bicycles did not diminish at all. Instead, it became more and more intense. Bicyclists began to appear on the streets of Chang'an City. The convenience, magic, and speed of bicycles began to be known by more and more people. The tycoons of Chang'an were all eager to make a move. They waved their banknotes, or rather, copper coins, wanting to buy bicycles. However, the 7 first-run stores of bicycles announced on Tang Daily were all out of stock. They were still out of stock the next day, and still out of stock on the 3rd day. In a short period of time, bicycles became something that was truly priceless. It was rumored that there were already people who offered a high price of 800 strings of cash, hoping to buy a bicycle. "Shopkeeper's son, do you have any bicycles at Curious Pavilion? I'm willing to pay more." "Yes. Shopkeeper's son, the price is negotiable. Do you have any bicycles here?" Some people who were looking for bicycles, to no avail, finally came to Curious Pavilion. They asked Sun Huayuan one after another. Sun Huayuan could only smile bitterly. "Dear customers, it's not that I don't want to sell you bicycles, but Curious Pavilion really is out of stock." "No, Mr. Sunday. In the past, all the new gadgets produced by the Strange Taste Pavilion were sold in the Strange Taste Pavilion. Why is there no stock this time? That's right. Why are Curious Pavilion's bicycles all distributed to other stores this time? Many people were deeply surprised that Curious Pavilion wasn't part of the first batch of bicycles. Sun Huiyuan explained, "This was arranged by my family's marquee. The purpose is to disperse the customers and make it easier for everyone to buy. Actually, as far as I know, Curious Pavilion's 2 workshops are currently producing bicycles. I believe that the second batch of bicycles will be on sale soon. Everyone, please be patient." Hearing Sun Huiyuan's words, although the crowd was unwilling, they could only go back and wait for the news. Although Li Zishuan had heard about these things, he didn't care much about it. Because the workshops were all following procedures, it was useless for him to worry about it. He still had other things to do. "Mr. Yen, have the exam questions for each subject been released?" In Yanhuang College, Li Zishuan asked in a low voice in Yen Silu's office. "Yes, that's right. Yanhuang College's first monthly exam was about to be held. Due to the late start of the semester and the military training in the first month of the semester, the real time of classes in the first semester was only 2 months. After the monthly exam, the next big exam would be the final exam, and then it would be the winter vacation." Yen Silu pointed to the 5 craft paper bags on the table and smiled. "Yes, it's all ready. Yamacho, do you want to take a look at it yourself?" Li Zishuan thought for a moment and nodded. "Yes, I'll take it back to have a look later. The exam rooms should have been allocated, right?" Yen Silu replied, "It's all arranged. Every seat has an exam number, and the other teaching rooms in the teaching building have all been opened. Each teaching room will only seat 20 people, and the allocation of exam rooms will be messed up. It should be able to prevent the students from plagiarizing." Li Zishuan had used the modern exam system as a reference for the allocation of exam rooms. Li Zishuan would learn from modern systems whenever he could. He wasn't polite at all. "Well, if that's the case, I'm relieved." Li Zishuan nodded. He had been in Chang'an City for a few days because of his personal affairs, so he was a little negligent in the management of the college. However, the current leadership of Yanhuang College had begun to take shape. Even if he wasn't in the college for a short time, the operation of the college wouldn't be in trouble. Inform the head teachers of each class to emphasize the discipline of the exam room to the student. Those who cheat will have their grades nullified or be expelled directly. So I don't want to see any students cheating. No teacher wanted their students to cheat in the exam, and Li Zishuan was no exception. "Yes, Yamacho, don't worry. I'll explain it to them clearly." Yen Silu stroked his beard and responded. Li Zishuan learned about the recent situation of the college, and then took the exam papers to the other courtyard. Yesterday, he had already brought his wife back to the side courtyard to stay. Chapter 988. Li Zishuan took the test papers home and skimmed through them. The next day, he sent them back to the college. This time, Li Zishuan didn't mess around with the test papers. Overall, the difficulty of the questions was only average. There weren't any weird questions and it tested the students' foundations. Li Zishuan didn't make any changes because there was no need to make weird questions to make things difficult for the students every time. "Hey! Chonyo, Zifan, Baolin, do you guys want to play football after school?" Yanhuang College, Guanghua Building, Class 1, Li Tai stood up and asked a few people who often played football with him during the break. Now, football had become a part of the students' lives. Li Tai did not like sports in the past, but ever since he successfully lost weight during the military training, football came out of nowhere. He began to be infatuated with this hot-blooded sport. Basically, he would find some friends to play football on the field every few days. F***CK. The monthly test is tomorrow and you're still in the mood to play football? You're not treating us students with bad grades as human beings. Ching Chumo immediately said indignantly. Oh, Chinke, I won't play football with you tonight. I still have to review my homework. Yuchi Baolin stood up and scratched his head with a silly smile. Li Tai pursed his lips and said unconcernedly, Isn't it just a monthly test? Is it necessary? You've already learned what you need to learn. It's too late for you to learn what you haven't learned. Why don't you play football and relax? Who knows, maybe you'll get better results. Ching Chumo rolled his eyes and said, Chinke, it's easy for you to say that. It doesn't matter if your grades are good, you can play blindly. But Bao Lin and I are different. We'll take advantage of this time to learn as much as we can. Hey, Chinke, don't you want to be first in this monthly test? Li Tai shook his head without hesitation and said, Let's leave it to fate. If I get it, it's my fortune. If I don't, it's my fate. Why force it? Ching Chumo laughed. This guy suddenly said sarcastically, Yo, yo, yo. I haven't seen you for a few days and you've already become desireless? Could it be that you want to become a monk and practice Buddhism? Li Tai laughed and scolded, F***CKU. You're the one who wants to be a monk. Hee. In my opinion, Cyan Sparrow no longer has the motivation to fight for first place. Haha. Otherwise, with Chin K's personality, she will definitely not give up until she gets first place. Seeing this, Sun Zifen smiled and revealed the truth. The truth was indeed as he said. If it had been a month ago, Li Tai would have been very concerned about the ranking of this monthly exam. At that time, Li Zixuan had said that football could only be obtained by passing the top 3 of the monthly exam. It could not be bought anywhere else even if one had the money. But later, Li Tai did not know why Li Zixuan went back on his word and actually took out a large number of footballs to sell. For Li Tai, anything that could be solved with money was not a problem. Since he could buy football with money, why would he work so hard for the monthly exam? The monthly exam was just a small test in the learning process. It was not worth his attention. Hence, his very Buddha-like answer just now. Li Tai was seen through, but his expression did not change as he said, After the exam, I'll treat you to a meal at a small shop to celebrate. How about that? That's fine with me. Then are you two going to play football in the afternoon? No. F***CK. What about you, Zifen? Sun Zifen shook his head and said, Cyan Sparrow, I'm not going either. The weather today is not good. Li Tai had no choice but to find someone else. The next day, Yanwang College's first monthly exam officially kicked off. As the college bell and drum rang 3 times in a row, the invigilators in the 32 examination halls began to distribute the exam papers at the same time. The teachers of the college's inspection team also started to patrol the examination halls one by one to prevent students from cheating in the exam. In fact, in terms of invigilation, Yanwang College's monthly exam was almost as strict as the Tang Empire's imperial examination. This was also because Li Zixuan wanted to do his best to create a fair learning and competitive environment for the students. That was why he paid so much attention to the examination hall's discipline. There were a total of 5 subjects in this monthly exam. Among them, classics and geography were combined. On the first day, they would be tested on mathematics in the morning. The difficulty of the first exam was maxed out. In the afternoon, they would be tested on physics. On the second day, they would be tested on chemistry. In the afternoon, they would be tested on classics and geography in the afternoon. After the exams, they would have a holiday because tomorrow was Friday. The monthly exam's mathematics paper was set by Su Hongji. He had worked with Li Zixuan in the mathematics school for a period of time. He had learned a few points from Li Zixuan's craftiness in setting the questions. In the beginning of the mathematics paper, most of the questions relied on some basic questions related to the knowledge points in book. These questions were not difficult, but they were not easy either. Only those who had a thorough understanding of the knowledge points could get them all correct. However, for the last question, Su Hongji prepared a surprise for the students. Let's say there is a pond with an infinite amount of water. There are 2 empty water bottles with a capacity of 5 liters and 6 liters respectively. Deduce how to use these 2 bottles to obtain 3 liters of water from the pond. This was a logical deduction question related to mathematics. Compared to the previous questions, this question was undoubtedly more flexible because it did not test a certain knowledge point in book. It tested one's reasoning ability. This question was worth a total of 15 points, so no one took the initiative to give up on this question. Each and every one of them racked their brains and calculated the answer on the draft paper. Meng Wenhao, who was sitting in exam room 16, thought for about half an hour before he finally started writing. First, fill the 6-liter bottle. Then, pour it into the 5-liter bottle. There is 1 liter left in the 6-liter bottle. Then, empty the 5-liter bottle. Pour the remaining 1 liter of water from the 6-liter bottle into the 5-liter bottle. Then, fill the 6-liter bottle with water. Pour it into the 5-liter bottle until it is full. Pour in 4 liters of water, leaving 2 liters of water. Finally, empty the 5-liter bottle. Pour the remaining 2 liters of water from the 6-liter bottle into the 5-liter bottle. Then, the 5-liter bottle will have 3 liters of space left. Fill the 6-liter bottle with water. Then, pour it into the 5-liter bottle until it is full. Pour in 3 liters of water, leaving 3 liters of water in the 6-liter bottle. After he finished writing, Meng Wenhao shook his head and thought to himself, "This question is quite interesting. It seems that Mr. Su's problem-setting skills are gradually approaching that of Yamacho. If Meng Wenhao could solve this question, how could Li Tai, who was in exam room 1, not be able to do it?" He only thought for half an hour before he came up with an answer. Moreover, it was a different answer. First, fill the 5-liter bottle. Then, pour in the 6-liter bottle. Then, fill the 5-liter bottle. Pour in the 6-liter bottle. Then, there will be 4 liters of water left in the 5-liter bottle. Then, empty the 6-liter bottle. Pour in the 4-liter bottle from the 5-liter bottle. Then, there will be 4 liters of water left in the 6-liter bottle. Finally, fill the 5-liter bottle with water. Then, fill the 6-liter bottle with water from the 5-liter bottle. Then, there will be 3 liters of water left in the 5-liter bottle. After he finished writing, Li Tai nodded with satisfaction and whispered, "In the past, Yamacho came up with a question about putting water in the pool. Now, Mr. Su came up with a question about getting water from the pool. This is really interesting." Chapter 989. At 4:00 in the afternoon of the next day, the last exam of Yanhuang College's first monthly exam was over. After going through 2 days of high-intensity exams, the students were all physically and mentally exhausted. After handing in their papers, no matter if they did well or not, they all couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief. "Hey, Chinke, didn't you say yesterday that you'd treat us to a drink after the exam? Let's go now?" After the students in the exam room returned to their respective classrooms, Ching Chumo patted Li Tai's shoulder and winked. Li Tai said unhappily, "F***CK, you guys weren't loyal yesterday and didn't accompany me to play football. Today, you want a drink with me? No way." He did say yesterday that he'd treat them to a meal, but there was a prerequisite. Ching Chumo took advantage of the situation and said, "Hee. Chinke Chitsu culture is flourishing. Now that you receive dividends every month, you won't be so stingy as to not be willing to treat us to a drink, right?" He knew better than anyone that Li Tai didn't lack money at all because Li Tai had shares in Chitsu culture. Then again, Li Zishuan's family was fattened up by Li Zishuan. If Li Zishuan didn't return to Chang'an this year, Li Er might still be living a tight life. Li Qingqian and Li Tai might still be by Li Er's side fighting for favor. Now, history was changing little by little. That's right. Chinke, you're the richest among us. It's not too much to treat us brothers to a drink, right? Sun Zifan also chimed in. Oh, Chinke, if you want to treat us to a drink, count me in. Yuchi Baolin just walked into the classroom and didn't know what was going on, so he ran over to join in the fun. Li Tai almost vomited blood. He thought about it and finally said helplessly, Okay. Pack up, let's go to Xiaomao's a small shop for a meal tonight. I'm really scared of you bad friends. Ever since Gu Xiaomao's have a small shop opened, it became extremely popular in Yanhuang College. In the beginning, his family's supermarket had given the academy students a huge surprise. In this era, people would go to the rice shop to buy rice, to the market to buy shoes, to the grocery store to buy pots and pans, to the raingear store to buy umbrellas, and to the snack stalls in the eastern and western markets to buy snacks. However, once Gu Xiaomao's store was opened, the students discovered that shopping had suddenly become very simple. Food, drinks, and necessities could basically be bought from his store. Moreover, they had to choose what they wanted to buy. After choosing, they just had to pay the bill at the counter at the entrance. This kind of novel shopping method also made the students feel very refreshed. When they had nothing to do, they would often come in groups of 3 to 5 to shop at the supermarket. Other than the supermarket, there was also a small shop that provided gourmet service. This was also a campus restaurant. There was a row of sheds outside the store. Under the sheds, there were tables and chairs. The store mainly served noodles or small dishes. The person who cooked was usually Old Man Gu. Sometimes, when Old Man Gu couldn't free himself, Gu Xiaomao's sister, Gu Yunshuang, would come out to cook. Haha, Xiaomao, today we're here to take care of your business. Li Tai brought a group of people out of Guanghua Building. After a short while, they arrived at a small shop. He shouted at Gu Xiaomao, who was chopping firewood in front of the store. Behind him were Qing Chumo, Yuchi Baolin, Qin Huaiyu, Li Huairen, Li Ku, Zhang Sun Chong, and Sun Zifan. They were all a group of second-generation officials. Your Highness! Gu Xiaomao was shocked. He quickly put down the work in his hands and hurriedly greeted him. Although the ordinary students of Yanhuang College often came here to shop at the supermarket, Li Tai rarely came here. This was because the little fatty basically didn't lack anything in daily life. Every weekend, there would be servants who would come over to help him replenish his goods. The little fatty was either studying or running off to play football. Naturally, he rarely came to the supermarket. Screw you. How many times have I told you not to call me Your Highness? Just call me Chinke. You just don't listen. Do you believe that I won't beat you up next time? Li Tai walked over and punched Gu Xiaomao's chest as he jokingly scolded him. When Yanhuang College was being built, one of them was the captain of the 8th team of the 1st Regiment, while the other was the vice-captain of the 8th team of the 1st Regiment. That construction life left a deep impression on Li Tai. At the same time, during that time, Gu Xiaomao took good care of Li Tai. Therefore, Li Tai treated Gu Xiaomao as a friend. This. Gu Xiaomao looked troubled. He really didn't dare to call Li Tai's name directly. Forget it. I won't make things difficult for you. Xiaomao, I'm inviting my friends over for drinks today. Make some good food and think of a way to get some girls. Li Tai saw this and helplessly patted Gu Xiaomao's shoulder. At the same time, he felt a little disappointed. Actually, he wanted to casually make friends like ordinary people. Hey! Everyone, please wait. The drinks and dishes will be here soon. Gu Xiaomao breathed a sigh of relief and immediately beamed with joy. Hey! We haven't eaten together in a long time. Xiaomao, why don't you come over for a drink later? Li Tai grabbed Gu Xiaomao's shoulder and said. Gu Xiaomao couldn't bear to refuse. He nodded and said, Okay. Then when I'm done, I'll toast to everyone. That's more like it. Li Tai chuckled and then sat down with a few second-generation airs. Hey. A bunch of kids actually came over to drink instead of going home during the holidays? Just then, a burst of light laughter came from the neighboring table. Li Tai was furious when he heard that and was about to scold the person who spoke. However, when he stood up and saw the people at the neighboring table, he was instantly stunned. Mr. Zhang. Mr. Zhang-san, Mr. Wang, you guys are here too. Li Tai was stunned. The rest of the people then realized that the bearded man and Wang Ji were sitting at the neighboring table. They almost forgot that these two old drunkards were regulars at a small shop. If one were to say who loved drinking the most in the academy, it would be none other than these two. In the past, Wang Ji felt a little lonely in the academy by himself. However, after the bearded man was subdued by Li Zixuan and joined the academy, the two drunkards were immediately attracted to each other as if there was a magnet attached to their bodies. The powerless Wang Ji actually became good friends with the bearded man, the top expert in the world, just like that. The miraculous changes in the world were truly unpredictable. Greetings, Mr. Zhang-san, Mr. Wang. Qing Chumo, Sun Zifan, and Li Ku hurriedly went over and bowed to the bearded man and Wang Ji. As students, they went to the tavern to drink and ended up bumping into their teachers. Whoever met them would be King embarrassed. Chapter 990. Haha. You guys continue drinking. Just treat us two old men as if we don't exist. And have a small shop. Wang Ji looked at the embarrassed faces of Li Tai and the rest. He laughed, put down his glass, and said, "But young people shouldn't drink too much. Just a little taste is enough. After all, strong alcohol is harmful to the body." The old man acted like a good teacher educating the younger generation. He completely forgot that he was an old drunkard. How could he have the right to advise others to drink less? "Sir, you're right. We'll remember that." Li Tai cupped his hands and said politely, Go ahead." Wang Ji waved his hand and continued drinking. Li Tai sat down and looked at Li Ku, Zhang Sunchong, and Qing Chumo. Although Wang Ji said that they didn't need to care about him and the bearded man, it was still awkward for two tables to eat at the same place. Ahem. Little Ku, how did you do in the monthly exam this time? In order to break the awkward atmosphere as soon as possible, Li Tai had no choice but to find something to talk about. Li Ku looked at his brother and replied, "It should be okay." Most of the questions this time were things that the teachers had talked about before. It didn't feel as difficult as the entrance exam 2 months ago. Sun Zifan interrupted, "Hey! King of Han, you're right. The monthly exam questions this time were set by the teachers of the academy. The previous entrance exam questions were mostly set by the Yamacho. It's definitely more difficult. After all, not many people can understand the thinking of the Yamacho." Wang Ji, who was drinking at the next table, twitched his eyelids. The old drunkard seemed to have thought of something, and his face changed slightly. "Heh! Sun Zifan, you're talking nonsense again. Why do I feel that the two exams are equally difficult?" Qing Chumo rolled his eyes and slammed the table. Pfft! Everyone burst out laughing. "Haha! Chonyo, if there's an exam that you think is easy, then I think the person who set the exam should be kicked out of the academy by the Yamacho," Li Tai said with a strange smile. F***ck. Qing K, you're cursing people in a roundabout way again. Next time on the court, I'll definitely torture you. Qing Chumo immediately glared back at him. "The dishes are here. The dishes are here." At this moment, Gu Xiaomao walked over with 2 plates of food and shouted, "Yo! This is stir-frying." One of the 2 dishes was stir-fried pickled cabbage. There was pickled cabbage in the Tang Dynasty. Due to the high price of salt and the lack of vegetables in winter, pickled cabbage was considered a relatively luxurious dish in winter, and the other dish was fried chicken with scallions. Seeing these 2 dishes, Li Tai raised his eyebrows and said with some surprise, "Hey! My sister made this by imitating the dishes in the academy's cafeteria and using lard. Gu Xiaomao put down the plate, scratched his head, and said embarrassedly. The Drunken Immortal restaurant had been popular in Chang'an for almost a year, and there were many restaurants that imitated its dishes. Although the taste was not as authentic as the Drunken Immortal restaurant, the stir-frying was already accepted by many people. Yanwang College's cafeteria also had many stir-frying dishes, and in order to reduce costs, they used lard. Then your sister is also quite good. Xiaomao, bring some wine. Li Tai chuckled. After a while, the dishes were all served, and the group that followed Li Tai could no longer hold back. TSK. I didn't expect that the taste of the dishes in our academy's cafeteria would be comparable to some of the restaurants in Chang'an. Amazing! Ching Chumo sniffed and took a deep breath. He looked as if he was drooling as he praised. Ha! True gold is not afraid of red fire, and good wine is not afraid of deep alleys. Ugly cow, the surface does not mean the interior is exquisite. A small place can also produce good food, ha. At this moment, Wang Ji and the bearded guest at the next table had finished eating. The two drunkards stood up drunkenly. Wang Ji walked over and patted Ching Chumo on the shoulder. You guys go ahead and eat. This old man and Mr. Zhang San will leave first. Xiaomao. Bill. Wang Ji said to Gu Xiaomao while swaying. Hey, brother Wang, this meal is on me. How can I let you pay for it? The bearded guest interrupted with a red face. Did Brother Zhang say that before? Why didn't I know? Wang Ji was probably a little drunk. The old man knocked his head and said, Okay. Brother Zhang, you go and pay the bill. Xiaomao, how much is it in total? Mr. Wang, Mr. Zhang San, it's 2 strings of coins and 300 copper coins. Why don't you come back another day? Gu Xiaomao calculated for a moment, looked at the two drunkards, and said worriedly. Actually, it was not that the food here was expensive. It was mainly because Wang Ji and the bearded guest came here to drink good wine. In the end, it was hard not to be expensive. But the two of them were drunk now, and it was impossible for them to have so much money on them. That was why he suggested this. Burp. Let me see. The bearded guest touched the money bag on him and found that there were only a few hundred copper coins. He could only say, Come. I'll write you an IOU. Come and get the money from me tomorrow. Gu Xiaomao hurriedly waved his hand and said, No need. Do you think I don't trust Mr. Zhang San's promise? The bearded man patted Gu Xiaomao's shoulder with his large hand. I told you to get the pen and paper, so hurry up and get it. I usually forget what happened the day before the next day after drinking. If I don't write an IOU, it'll be a miracle if you can get the money from me. Li Tai's eyes were wide open. He did not expect the bearded guest to have such a clear mind when he was drunk. Cough. No need to be so troublesome. Xiaomao, put the bill for these two gentlemen on my head. I'll settle it for you later. Li Tai coughed dryly and said. The bearded guest laughed loudly and said, Ha. It's not the student's turn to treat me to a drink. Xiaomao, quickly get the pen and paper. Seeing the bearded guest insist, Gu Xiaomao could only do as he was told. After a moment, the bearded guest finished writing the IOU and left with Wang Ji. Phew! They finally left. After Wang Ji and the bearded guest left, Sun Zifen heaved a sigh of relief. Ching Chumo laughed loudly and said, Come. Today we won't go home until we're drunk. Zhang Sun Chong also said excitedly, We won't go home until we're drunk. That Chinke, do you want to be like Mr. Zhang San and write the IOU first? Otherwise, when you're drunk later, you'll forget everything the next day. At this moment, Yuchi Baolin said something that was inappropriate, causing everyone present to be stunned. Scram! Could it be that I can still renege on Xiaomao's debt? Li Tai was enraged and said angrily. Then, he turned his head and said to Gu Xiaomao, Xiaomao, don't just stand there. Come over and have a few drinks with us too. Alright then. My alcohol tolerance isn't too good. Everyone, please don't take offense. Chapter 991. Oh, my head hurts. What time is it now? The next day, the sun shone through the window and into the dormitory. Li Tai's bed was at the door, so the sun shone on his face. He didn't know when he finally woke up, but he suddenly felt a headache. After waking up from a hangover, people usually felt uncomfortable. Last night, they drank until 6:30 p.m. Qing Chumo, Yuchi Baolin, Li Ku, Sun Chong, Qin Huayu, and Li Huairan were good drinkers. After eating and drinking, they could even ride back to Chang'an. He and Sun Zifan were not good drinkers, so they directly passed out. Naturally, they slept in the dormitory that night. Li Tai rubbed his eyes and endured the pain in his head. He stood up from the bed and looked at Sun Zifan, who was still sleeping like a dead pig. He shook his head and went to the bathroom to wash up. After a while, Li Tai finished washing up. The pain in his head was slightly relieved. He took a deep breath and walked out. Seeing that Sun Zifan was still sleeping, he curled his lips and said to himself, "What a dead pig! Go go go." At this moment, Li Tai's stomach made a go-go-go sound. Damn. Looks like I slept for a long time. I'm so hungry. I can't wait for Zifan. I have to go out and find something to eat. Li Tai rubbed his stomach and quietly walked out of the door. Damn. It's almost noon, right? After leaving the dormitory, Li Tai saw that the sun was already above his head. He couldn't help but admire himself for sleeping for so long. Where should I eat? The cafeteria is too greasy. Thinking about where to eat, Li Tai suddenly became worried. Yanhuang College's cafeteria in this season only had pickles and meat dishes. He felt a little tired of eating them. Although the prince's mansion had fresh vegetables, distant water could not quench his thirst. Hey, I got it. Husband, you're back? The food is ready. Please wash your hands and come eat. In the courtyard of Yunshan, Li Zixuan had been marking test papers in the academy for the whole morning. When he returned home near noon, Han Yushi came up to him and considerately took off the cloak for Li Zixuan. She said with a smile, "Haha, what delicious food did my wife make today?" Li Zixuan sniffled and asked, "Nothing much, just a plate of bean sprouts and a plate of roasted chicken. There's only the two of us here. If you cook too much, I'm afraid we won't be able to finish it." Although she had married into the Li family, Han Yushi's thrifty habit had not changed. Hey, that was enough. That's enough. Li Zixuan was not a wasteful person. Not only did he not dislike his wife's character, he even faintly admired it. In his previous life, he had seen a piece of news saying that the couple went to a restaurant for dinner. When they were about to leave, the woman saw that there were still a lot of dishes left, so she asked the waiter to pack them up. In the end, when they returned home, the man thought that the woman had embarrassed him and beat her up. When Li Zixuan saw this piece of news, he was speechless. He could only sigh. Why would a good girl always meet a scumbag man? Knock, knock, knock. Yamacho. At this warm moment, there was a knock on the door. Chinke? Why is this guy here at this time? When Li Zixuan heard the voice, he knew that the person outside was Li Tai. He had some doubts in his heart. Husband, go and take a look. Han Yushi looked out of the window and said with a smile. Okay. Li Zixuan responded and went to the front yard. When he opened the door, he saw Li Tai outside the yard and said, Chinke, are you looking for me? Li Tai rubbed his hands and looked as if he was afraid of the cold. He said, Yes, there is something. Yamacho, why don't we go in and talk? After saying that, the little fatty actually wanted to go into the house. Li Zixuan was speechless. Was this his house or Li Tai's house? The little fatty wanted to declare war and seize control of the house. Grumble, grumble, grumble. Li Tai hadn't even taken 2 steps when his stomach failed to live up to his expectations and made 2 rumbling sounds. Li Zixuan's hearing was extremely sharp, and he immediately understood what was going on. F***ck. I say, you brat, are you here to freeload? Li Tai's face was immediately filled with embarrassment. He quickened his pace and walked inside while flatly denying, Of course not. I'm here to ask Yamacho about the results of the monthly test." After saying that, he had already walked to the door of the house. "Aya, Master's wife is really good at cooking. This dish smells so good. How delicious would it be when it is eaten? Even the imperial chefs in the palace are not as good as Master's wife's cooking skills." As soon as the little fatty entered the house, he immediately smelled the fragrance of fried bean sprouts and braised chicken floating in the air. This fellow did not care what dish was on the plate and praised it fiercely. If he lived in modern times, this fellow would definitely be a bootlicker. Han Yushi was elated by the praise and was a little overwhelmed. She hurriedly said, "Qin-Ke, you must be joking. You haven't eaten yet, right? I'll go to the kitchen and get you a bowl and chopsticks." Li Tai had been to the Li family more than once. At first, Han Yushi called him Your Highness. Later, under the insistence of Li Tai and Li Zixuan, she had long since changed her way of addressing him as Qin-Ke. Li Tai's eyes lit up. He came all the way here just to hear this sentence. Hearing this, he immediately beamed with joy and said, "Thank you, Master's wife." He previously thought that Li Zixuan had asked him for vegetables before and guessed that there should be vegetables to eat here. Thus, he gave up on eating in the cafeteria and directly ran here. Li Zixuan, who had just entered the house, could not help but shake his head. He thought to himself that this little fatty was becoming less and less arrogant as a dragon's descendant. He could actually do such a thing as freeloading. Han Yushi went to get a bowl and chopsticks for Li Tai, but Li Tai had already moved a chair and ran to the table to sit down. At this time, he saw that there were only 2 dishes on the table and could not help but be a little disappointed. However, when he saw the sparkling and white bean sprouts, he could not help but say in surprise, What dish is this? Why have I never seen it before?" Li Zixuan came over and sat down. He picked up a bean sprout with his chopsticks and ate a mouthful of rice as he said unhappily, "This is bean sprout. It's taken from the sprouts of soybean seedlings and stir-fried." Li Tai's eyes lit up and said, "So it's vegetables. That's great. I want to try it." At this time, Han Yushi brought a bowl and chopsticks. Naturally, the bowl was filled with rice. Li Tai did not say anything and directly picked up the bean sprout. When it was close to his nose and mouth, a burst of fragrance entered his nostrils. He could not help but salivate. He quickly put the bean sprout into his mouth and chewed lightly. It was crispy and delicious. There was a hint of sourness and saltiness in the fresh fragrance. It whetted his appetite. "Oh, delicious, delicious. This bean sprout is really delicious. Yamacho, where did this bean sprout come from? Can you sell it to me for 50 caddies first?" After Li Tai took a bite of the bean sprout, he felt as if he had eaten a peerless delicacy. His eyes widened as he looked at Li Zixuan excitedly and asked. Chapter 992. 50 Jeans? Are you still asleep? In the Yunshan residence, Li Zixuan almost spat out the food in his mouth after hearing Li Tai's word. At the same time, he cursed this little fatty in his heart. Although he had bean sprouts at home, it probably didn't even amount to 50 jeans. If this wasn't an exorbitant demand, then what else could it be? Is 50 jeans too much? It's not much, Yamacho. 50 jeans of bean sprouts isn't enough for me to eat for a week. Li Tai fiercely picked up a large chunk of bean sprouts and put it into his bowl. That small porcelain bowl suddenly became a small mountain. The little fatty fiercely stuffed food into his mouth as he quibbled with Li Zixuan. "Scram! 50 jeans isn't enough for you to eat for a week? Do you want to eat bean sprouts as rice?" Li Zishuan really wanted to pick up the little fatty and beat him up. Li Tai vaguely said, let's exchange it as rice. I can eat 50 jeans a week. Yamacho, if you don't believe me, then give me 50 jeans of bean sprouts to try. You really know how to scheme. What good will it do me to let you try? No way. Li Zishuan wasn't an idiot. Why would he fall for this little guy's trick? Yamacho, you can't say that. As the Yamacho of Yanhuang College, shouldn't you be concerned about the students of Yanhuang College? The college's cafeteria recently has only pickled vegetables and meat dishes. We really need these fresh vegetables. If it's really not possible, how about I exchange the vegetables from the imperial residence for bean sprouts? 1 jeans for 1 jeans? Li Tai bargained with a cheeky grin. Li Zishuan frowned and didn't say anything. Although Li Tai's words were somewhat shameless, there was some truth to it. If the human body didn't eat fresh vegetables for a long time, the immune system would likely decline. He didn't care about other people, but he had to care about the students of the college. He had to ensure that the students could study healthily. In a few days, there should be bean sprouts in the academy's canteen. After pondering for a moment, Li Zishuan said softly, "Ha! Mighty Yamacho." Li Tai slapped the table and shouted excitedly, "Humph! Don't be happy yet, I still have a debt to settle with you." Li Zishuan snorted coldly. Seeing Li Tai's stunned expression, he continued, "I heard that you and Ching Chumo were drinking at Gu Xiaomao's tavern last night. You drank for more than 2 hours and all of you were dead drunk. Is that true?" Hearing this, Li Tai's face fell. He quickly put down his chopsticks and shrunk his neck. He was a prince. Logically speaking, there was no need for him to be afraid of Li Zishuan. However, in the past year, Li Zishuan had conquered him with his knowledge and saved his life twice. Therefore, he couldn't help but respect and fear Li Zishuan. "Yamacho, we were on holiday yesterday afternoon. It shouldn't be a problem for us to drink a little, right?" The academy didn't forbid drinking during the holidays. Li Tai met Li Zishuan's aggressive gaze and braced himself. The academy didn't forbid students from drinking during the holidays, but students are not allowed to openly gather and drink in the academy. Gu Xiaomao has already broken the rules by selling the wine to you. I will settle this with him later. Li Zishuan snorted coldly and said. Li Tai was stunned and hurriedly said, Don't. Yamacho, this has nothing to do with Xiaomao. I was the one who forced him to give us the wine. The main responsibility is on me. Li Zishuan's eyes were cold, but a trace of relief grew in his heart. Probably no one would have thought that the high and mighty king of Wei, Li Tai, would actually plead for leniency for a lowly commoner in the eyes of the upper echelons of society. This scene would have been impossible to happen a year ago. However, Li Zishuan was gratified by this. A person who knew how to think for others, no matter how bad they were in the future, they wouldn't be too bad. For Li Tai to be able to do this, it meant that he had matured. The arrogant, headstrong, and temperamental Li Tai from history would never appear again. Husband, Xiaomao's family doesn't have it easy. Why don't you let them go this time? Han Yushi said at this time. Li Zishuan secretly praised his wife for pleading at the right time. In fact, he wasn't very angry. He just wanted to use this opportunity to test Li Tai's character. He played the bad guy and Han Yushi played the good guy. Yes. Yamacho. It wasn't easy for Xiaomao to open a shop in the academy. His family depends on this shop for a living. Please don't punish him this time. Li Tai cast a grateful look at Han Yushi and quickly said. Li Zishuan didn't say anything, but pretended to be deep in thought. The atmosphere in the room was a little tense. Li Tai didn't care about enjoying the food at this time. He stared at Li Zishuan without blinking, looking a little nervous. Forget it. Since it's your first offense, I'll forgive you this time. As for Gu Xiaomao, I'll send someone to warn him not to sell alcohol to students in the future. As for the few of you, Each of you write a self-reflection letter and hand it to me before class next Monday. After some time, the little fatty's eyes were a little sore from staring. Li Zixuan finally spoke. Li Tai heard this and couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. However, he was puzzled and asked, Yamacho, what is a self-reflection letter? How should it be written? Li Zixuan patted his head and replied, It's a self-reflection letter. It's similar to the self-reflection letter written by Emperor Wu of Han. Actually, in history, Li Er had also written a self-reflection letter, but that was after the outbreak of the locust plague in the second year of Jingguan. There was no such thing now. Li Tai suddenly understood, but he felt that Li Zixuan's analogy was a little inappropriate. Okay. I'll inform Chu Mo and the others to write a self-reflection letter. Li Zixuan nodded and thought to himself, who can be more awesome than me if I ask the Tang Dynasty's prince to write a self-reflection letter? Let's eat. When the little fatty heard this, his mood improved. The hunger in his stomach made him transform into a glutton. The big plate of bean sprouts that Han Yushi had fried was all eaten by this guy in no time. However, he didn't touch the plate of braised chicken at all. Burp. Master's wife's cooking is really superb. Yamacho really has good taste. Hee, if there were more bean sprouts, it would be even more perfect. Next time, it's best to use a porcelain bowl. After finishing the bean sprouts, Li Tai took a glance at the braised chicken and instantly lost his appetite. He rubbed his stomach and sighed as if he hadn't had enough. Hee. Since you like it so much, Chin-kei, I'll cook another plate for you. Han Yushi stood up with a smile and said, Okay, my ass. Wife, sit down. This kid has been on a diet recently and is full. Don't worry about him. Li Tai cheered loudly, but Li Zixuan interrupted mercilessly. Someone had snatched all his dishes and wanted to trouble his wife to cook another plate. How could there be such a cheap thing in the world? Chapter 993. After eating and drinking to his heart's content, Li Tai hummed a little tune and wandered back to the dormitory. He was in a very good mood. Firstly, it was because he ate the delicious bean sprouts. Secondly, he felt that he had helped Gu Xiaomao, so of course he was happy. This unlucky kid still didn't realize that Li Zixuan was deliberately testing him. Thirdly, when he left, he shamelessly asked Li Zixuan for more than 3 pounds of bean sprouts. Although it wasn't much, it was better than nothing. When he returned to the dormitory, Li Tai saw that there was no one in the dormitory. After thinking for a while, he guessed that Sun Zifen should have gone to the cafeteria to eat. The little fatty smiled proudly and put the bag of bean sprouts he got from Li Zixuan on the bed. Then, he rubbed his stomach and lay on his bed contentedly. He planned to go back to Chang, and directly after taking a nap. Soon, a wave of sleepiness hit him, and Li Tai fell asleep in a daze. Sigh. It's so uncomfortable. Everything I eat doesn't taste right. I don't know where Chin-kei went to eat at noon, but I didn't see him in the cafeteria. On the path of Yanhuang College, Sun Zifen, who had just come out of the cafeteria, muttered gloomily. Logically speaking, it was hard to have an appetite after waking up from a hangover. Don't tell me he's already back in Chang'an? F***ck. That's too much, he didn't even tell me when he went back to Chang'an. That's not right. Why is there a sound from inside? Sun Zifen muttered indignantly when he reached the dormitory door. Suddenly, he heard a snoring sound, which made him a little suspicious. Ho ho ho! Sun Zifen took out the key from his sleeve and opened the door. Instantly, the snoring sound became louder. F***ck. This guy didn't go back to Chang'an. At least he has a conscience. Seeing Li Tai sleeping soundly on the bed at the door, Sun Zifen felt a little better. They should drink together and go home together. Yo! What's this? And it's wrapped so tightly. Sun Zifen was about to return to his own bed to sleep when he inadvertently caught a glimpse of a package of oiled paper at Li Tai's bedside. He didn't know what was wrapped in it, but it looked like there was a lot of things inside. Sun Zifen's curiosity was immediately piqued. Hey! Could it be the delicious food that Qingke brought back from the academy? Haha! What a good friend! Then I won't hold back. Sun Zifen was trying to gauge Li Tai with the greatest kindness. The corners of his mouth curled up into a smile, and his hands subconsciously reached out to grab the oiled paper package. Don't move! Without any warning, Li Tai suddenly sat up from the bed. Bang! At this time, Sun Zifen was bending over to pick up the package at the head of the bed. He was shocked by Li Tai and his head hit the beam of the upper bunk. Ouch! F***CK. So Qingke, you haven't slept yet. Sun Zifen cried out in pain and staggered 2 steps as he angrily said to Li Tai. F***CK. Zifen, what are you doing? Are you peeking at me sleeping? Let me tell you, this king is not into men. Even if I was into men, I wouldn't be into men like you. Pooey. This king will not be into men no matter what. Li Tai opened his eyes and saw that there was a man on top of his head. He was also frightened. After listening to Sun Zifan's words, he opened his eyes wide and said in horror. F***CKU. You are the one who is into men. This daddy has always liked women, alright? I just wanted to see what was in the package at the head of your bed. Anyone who was slandered as a man would probably be angry. Sun Zifen actually called Li Tai daddy at this time. His guts were boundless. Package? Li Tai heard and heaved a sigh of relief. However, when he heard about the package, his heart jumped again. He hurriedly hugged the package at the head of the bed and said, F***CK. This is my package. You can't look at it. Seeing this, Sun Zifen was even more curious about what was in the package in Li Tai's hands. However, compared to this, he wanted to know more about another matter. Qingke, were you asleep just now? Li Tai rolled his eyes and said, Of course I was asleep. Sun Zifen was stunned. Since you were asleep, why did you suddenly jump up? Speaking of this, Li Tai was speechless. I just had a dream. I dreamt that someone was stealing my package, so I got up. F***CK. Who are you lying to? If you don't want to say it, then forget it. Sun Zifen was furious. He felt like he had been played for a fool. Li Tai was too lazy to explain. TSK. Forget it if you don't believe me. After a while, Sun Zifen could not help but ask, Qingke, what's in the package? Why are you being so secretive? Li Tai hurriedly said, It's nothing. It's just some trinkets. Sun Zifen said in disbelief, Trinkets? What are you doing if it's a trinket? Quick, let me see what it is. After saying that, he went up to snatch it. F***CK. Stop it. It's really a trinket. It's definitely useless to you. Li Tai panicked and hurriedly hid the package behind his back. Sun Zifen was even more unconvinced. Hey! If you don't open it and let me see, then we'll just wait like this. If I don't sleep, you don't sleep either. Li Tai's fat face darkened. He could only accept his bad luck to have met such a shameless friend. He said in exasperation, F***CK. You win. Come here. I'll let you take a look. Let me say this first. You can only look, not touch. Yes. Of course. Sun Zifen agreed readily. Although Li Tai did not believe that Sun Zifen would do as he said, in order to avoid being pestered by this guy, he could only take out the package and open a small opening. Dozens of tender and white bean sprouts were immediately exposed. F***CK. I thought it was some kind of treasure. Isn't it just bean sprouts? Although the bean sprouts in the package were a little too white, no matter how white they were, weren't they still bean sprouts? After Sun Zifen saw it, he was instantly disappointed. Li Tai hurriedly wrapped the bean sprouts and said with a smile, I told you that this thing would definitely be useless to you. You didn't believe me." Sun Zifen waved his hand and immediately lost interest. He returned to his bed and was about to lie down to sleep when he suddenly remembered that there should not be so many bean sprouts in this season. Hence, he asked Chinke, "Where did you get these bean sprouts? Also, why did you get these bean sprouts?" Li Tai thought for a moment and began to make up a story. "I got them from Yamacho. Yamacho asked me to take them back and plant them. He said that he wanted me to understand the principle of reaping what you sow. This is a profound knowledge." "Reaping what you sow?" Sun Zifen muttered a few words. Inexplicably, many doubts arose in his heart. But at this time, a wave of sleepiness hit him, causing his eyelids to start to droop. He could only go to sleep with doubts in his heart. However, a few days later, he would probably have the intention to kill Li Tai. "What the f***ck do you mean by reaping what you sow? I really believed in your nonsense." Chapter 994. Wife, later on, ask Uncle Wang to purchase a batch of soybeans, the more the better. After purchasing them, mobilize all the servants in the residence to distribute bean sprouts. When the time comes, send a portion to the academy and another portion to the drunken immortal restaurant. Li Zishuan said to Han Yushi when he left the Yunshan residence in the afternoon. "Yes. Husband wants to start a bean sprouts business?" Han Yushi responded and asked again. "Yes. Since we plan to introduce bean sprouts to the academy's cafeteria, why not take out a portion to sell in Chang'an City? If we don't make money, what are we if not fools?" Li Zishuan smiled and said, "Actually, at the very beginning, he didn't plan to sell the bean sprouts. His purpose of making bean sprouts was to give his family a change of taste so that they could eat vegetables in this season. However, what Li Tai said earlier made a bit of sense. He was the Yamacho of Yanhuang College, and the students in the academy were all his students. He couldn't leave something good for himself and not share it. Therefore, when Li Tai left, Li Zishuan had already made up his mind to introduce bean sprouts to the academy's cafeteria. Since there were bean sprouts in the cafeteria, how could there be no drunken immortal restaurant? After all, no one would complain about having too much money. Oh, if you ask all the servants in the residence to help distribute bean sprouts, aren't you afraid that our method will be leaked? Han Yushi blinked and suddenly thought of a problem and quickly asked. Now, the bean sprouts in the Li family were all personally prepared by her, Xiao He and Xiao Shi, so naturally, there wouldn't be any leak. However, if there were more people involved, then it would be hard to say. When Li Zishuan heard this, his eyes narrowed slightly and he said coldly, "If it's leaked, then so be it. It's not something valuable. Even if our family doesn't have this income, we won't collapse. Wife, just ask Uncle Wang to do as I say." Han Yushi's eyes showed some doubts, but she finally nodded and said, "Don't worry, husband. I will tell Uncle Wang." "Yes. Then I'll go to the academy." After saying that, Li Zishuan left the room. "Feiji, for the time being, you don't have to stay by my side and protect me. Go back to Chang'an and keep an eye on the mansion. See if there are any servants acting strangely or colluding with outsiders. If there is, don't alert them. Wait for me to go back and deal with it." On the way, Li Zishuan suddenly instructed Pang Feiji, who was beside him. Pang Feiji was startled. After a while, he regained his senses. His expression changed as he said in a low voice, "Marquis suspects that there is a spy in the residence?" Li Zishuan smiled and said casually, "No. I'm just trying to see if there's a spy in our residence." Han Yushi's words earlier had indeed given him a warning. Since ancient times, benefits had moved people's hearts. With his current identity and status, he could ignore the benefits brought by bean sprouts, but what about the others? Would others not care as much as he did? If there was no spy, then he would use the bean sprouts to make money. If there was a spy, then he would not lose out. He could use the bean sprouts to clean up the disloyal servants in the residence. This could prevent more losses in the future. In short, you can make a killing, but I will definitely not lose out. Pang Feiji was a little confused. He did not quite understand what Li Zixuan meant. Li Zixuan smiled and said, "You don't have to worry about anything else. Just do as I say." "Yes, Marquis. I'll return to Chang'an tomorrow." Pang Feiji bowed and cupped his fist. "Add oil. Add more salt. It's too little, add more. Add bean sprouts. Stir fry. Add onions, add onions. Add more vinegar." In the evening, the chefs of Prince Wei's residence met their master, Li Tai, in the kitchen. They heard that Li Tai wanted to make a new dish, and that, if they did not do well, everyone would be punished. All the chefs were under immense pressure. They raised their spirits and carried out Li Tai's orders meticulously. How did Li Tai know how to stir-fry bean sprouts? He heard it from Han Yushi in the afternoon. Now, the little fatty was applying what he had learned. He personally demonstrated what it meant to cook with one's mouth. "Your Highness, can we take the wok out?" The chef who was in charge of cooking felt that it was about time, so he carefully turned his head and asked. One could not cook with one's mouth. Without the help of these experienced chefs, Li Tai would not be able to stir-fry a plate of fragrant bean sprouts based on the information given by Han Yushi. Most of the time, Li Tai would only talk about the general process. The specific details would still depend on the experience of the chef. "Yes, you can take the wok out." Li Tai went forward to take a look. Seeing that the bean sprouts in the wok were similar to the ones he ate at Li Zixuan's place, he hurriedly instructed the chef to take the wok out. "Yes." The chef who was in charge of cooking responded. Then, he picked up the wok and poured the bean sprouts into a porcelain plate that was prepared beforehand. The tender white sprouts were wrapped in oil droplet. Reflecting the light of the setting sun that shone in through the window, it looked even more appetizing. The white porcelain plate, the white bean sprouts, and the emerald green onions made one's appetite even more aroused. The most unbearable thing was the fragrance of the bean sprouts that had just come out of the wok. The fragrance of such fresh vegetables was extremely rare in winter. "Yes, not bad. There will be rewards for all of you. In a while, all of you can go and get your rewards from Officer Wu." Li Tai went forward and sniffed. He was in a good mood and said to everyone in the kitchen, "Thank you, Your Highness." Everyone heaved a sigh of relief and hurriedly bowed to thank him. Li Tai was about to instruct the servants to bring the dishes to the main hall when he suddenly paused inexplicably, as if he had thought of something. After a while, he said, "Fry the remaining bean sprouts and put them in the food box. This prince is going to the palace." "Yes, Your Highness." The people in the kitchen bowed and answered. A quarter of an hour later, Li Tai carried an exquisite wooden food box and rode a carriage toward the palace. "Reporting to Your Majesty, Prince Wei requests an audience." West Court of the Imperial Palace, Empress Zhangxuan's bedroom. Li Er was eating with Empress Zhangxun when the palace maid outside the door suddenly came in and bowed. "Qinke? Let him in." Li Er nodded and instructed the palace maid. Then, he looked at Empress Zhangxun and said with a smile, "Oh, how strange. This boy actually thought of his father and mother?" "Your Majesty, what are you saying? Back then, you agreed to let Qinke study at Yanwan College. Now that Qinke is busy with her studies and doesn't often enter the palace, Your Majesty is blaming her." Empress Zhangxun smiled and exonerated Li Tai. "Your son pays his respects to father and mother." While chatting, Li Tai had already walked in. The little fatty carried a food box in his hand and couldn't salute, so he could only bow. Chapter 995. Dispense with the formalities. "What is that in your hand, Qinke?" In the Li Jing Palace, Li Er was sitting cross-legged on the couch. Seeing that Li Tai was holding a food box, his curiosity was piqued and he asked. A smile immediately appeared on Li Tai's face. He took a step forward and said, replying to Imperial Father, "This son happened to come across a delicacy today. The taste is very good, and I specially brought it for Imperial Father and Imperial Mother to enjoy." Li Er's eyes lit up and he immediately said, "Oh? What delicacy is it? Quickly bring it up." Zhao Song quickly took the food box from Li Tai's hand, opened it, and brought it to Li Er and Empress Zhongsun. Then, a silver needle quickly popped out from his sleeve and fell between his fingers. Just as he was about to secretly check if the bean sprouts were poisonous, Li Er grabbed his wrist and pushed it to the side. His meaning was self-evident. Tender and white, fragrant, and with soybeans stuck to the tail, is this a bean sprout? Li Er glanced at the things on the plate, then looked at Li Tai and asked, "Your Majesty, this shouldn't be a bean sprout. Firstly, there shouldn't be so many bean sprouts in this season. Secondly, bean sprouts from the ground shouldn't be so white." Empress Zhongxuan's observation was very detailed. After hearing Li Er's conclusion, she softly retorted, "Oh? It really isn't a bean sprout. Maid Guanyin is indeed attentive." Li Er looked carefully and found that it was as Empress Zhongxun said, so he changed his words. "Qin Ke, quickly tell Imperial Mother what kind of dish this is. Where did it come from?" Empress Zhongxun said with a smile, "Mother, this dish is called bean sprout. It is raised with clear water and changed the water daily. When the stem is an inch long, it is stir-fried in a pot to obtain this delicacy." Li Tai stepped forward and answered, "I see." Empress Zhongxun was enlightened. Then she said, "Qin Ke, you haven't said where this bean sprout came from. Could it be that you asked the servants of your mansion to train him?" When she said this, even Empress Zhongxun herself didn't believe it. Her own family knew her own matters. Li Tai was a person who liked to eat and didn't like to move. Wasn't it making things difficult for him to do these things? Replying to Imperial Mother, "This bean sprout was obtained from a Yamacho family. This son did not create it myself." Li Tai replied honestly, "Marquis of Yong'an? No wonder. Sure enough, it's easy for greedy people to discover delicacies." After Empress Zhongxun finished speaking, the corners of her mouth couldn't help revealing a trace of a smile. Li Er coughed lightly, interrupting the mother and son's conversation. Then he said, "I've only been talking about it. Guanyin maid, quickly taste it. See if this dish is as good as Qin Ke said." After 20 years of mutual help, Empress Zhongxun knew that Li Er truly wanted her to try first, so she didn't refuse. She reached her chopsticks into the plate, picked up a few bean sprouts, and then put them into her mouth. Her eyes seemed to brighten a bit. "How is it?" Li Er asked. Yes, it was fragrant and juicy, crispy and sweet, with a hint of sourness. It was very appetizing. "Your Majesty, please try it too." Empress Zhongxun smiled and said. Li Er nodded, picked up a bean sprout with his chopsticks, and put it into his mouth. "Yes, not bad, not bad." After eating a bean sprout with his chopsticks, Li Er praised. "Go go go." Just as Li Er's voice fell, a series of gu-gu-gu sounds suddenly came from the main hall. He saw Li Tai with one hand on his abdomen, his face full of embarrassment. Actually, at this moment, the little fatty wasn't embarrassed at all. Instead, he secretly rejoiced. "Abdomen! Abdomen! King made a contribution again. Well said, well said. Hee. So you didn't eat Qin Ke either? Come over quickly and eat with Imperial Father and your Imperial Mother. Come, add a set of chopsticks for Prince Wei." A trace of warmth flashed in Li Er's eyes, and then he ordered. "Many thanks, Imperial Father." Li Tai had been waiting for this sentence. Hearing this, he eagerly rushed over. "Yo, Dr. Qin? Dr. Wang?" The next morning, Li Zixuan went to Yanwang College after breakfast. Once he entered Guanghua Building, he met Dr. Qin and Dr. Wang from the Imperial Medical Department. The two of them were talking to Li Gang, and behind them were two young men in white clothes and white hat. "Marquis is here." When Dr. Qin and Dr. Wang heard this, they quickly bowed. Li Zixuan smiled and helped them up, saying, "The two of you don't have to be so courteous. But what is the matter today that brought the two of you all the way to Cloud Mountain? What a distinguished guest. Quick, please come in." Li Zixuan didn't only admire these two doctors from the Imperial Medical Department for their medical skills, but also for their character. As the saying goes, doctors have a benevolent heart, and these two were truly benevolent doctors. A moment later, they arrived at the meeting room on the first floor. After taking their seats, Dr. Qin smiled and said, "Marquis, this old man has already resigned from the Imperial Medical Department yesterday. After Brother Wang found out, he also resigned from his position. Today we're here to seek refuge with Marquis." Li Zixuan had already guessed the purpose of Dr. Qin's visit, but when he heard that Dr. Wang also came to seek refuge with Yanhuang College, he couldn't help but feel a burst of joy. "That's great! You two came at the right time. Yanhuang College's medical school has already begun preparations, and the Academy's medical hall has already been set up. Moreover, the daily necessities have already been prepared. I'll have to trouble the two of you to first set up the Academy's medical hall to solve the current problem of the students. Next year, we'll prepare for the medical school's enrollment." Li Zixuan's face lit up with joy as he said. Dr. Qin waved his hand and said, "Everything else is fine, but now that Brother Wang and I have resigned from our positions in the Imperial Medical Department, Marquis, please don't call yourself doctor in the future, lest you become a laughingstock." Li Zixuan chuckled, then shook his head and said, "Although the two of you are no longer doctors in the Imperial Medical Department, you will soon become doctors in Yanhuang College's medical school. Therefore, it's not inappropriate for me to call you that just now." Li Gang, who was sitting to the side, couldn't help but raise his eyebrows when he heard this, but he didn't say anything to oppose. Dr. Qin and Dr. Wang looked at each other, and finally, Dr. Qin said, "Absolutely not. I've heard before that Yanhuang College's doctor selection requirements are very strict. The two of us have just entered the academy, and we haven't even made a single contribution. If we were to be conferred the title of doctor by Marquis, I'm afraid that others won't accept it. I hope that Marquis will take back his order." Li Zixuan smiled indifferently and said, "If anyone doesn't accept it, let them come find me. The two of you have worked so hard to protect everyone's health, and you deserve to be awarded a doctor. I'd like to see who else won't accept it." Li Gang finally opened his mouth and said, "Yamacho is right. Yunshan is remote, and it's extremely inconvenient to see a doctor. If a student is sick, they have to be sent to Chang'an City. Therefore, the Academy's medical hall is very necessary. The two of you should also be worthy of the title of Doctor of the Academy." Chapter 996. Thank you for your trust, Marquis and Mr. Li. In the conference room, the two doctors from the Imperial Medical Department cupped their hands and said to Li Zixuan and Li Gang. Li Zixuan waved his hand and said, "You don't have to thank me. As long as the two of you can help run the Academy's medical center, it will be the best reward for me. Later, I will give you a copy of the medical center's regulations. In the future, all the medical centers in the Tang Dynasty will follow the Academy's medical center." Dr. Qin said solemnly, "Marquis, don't worry. The two of us will do our best." Li Zixuan smiled and looked at the two young people behind Dr. Qin and Dr. Wang. He asked, "The two doctors haven't introduced them to us yet." Dr. Wang hurriedly said, "Oh, look at our memory. Marquis, they are my and Brother Qin's students in the Imperial Medical Department. He is Zhou Zichang and Gao Guangwen. When they knew that Brother Qin and I were leaving the Imperial Medical Department, They dropped out of the Imperial Medical Department and followed us here. The Imperial Medical Department was not only a medical institution that served the royal family and the dignitaries, but also an institution of higher learning to cultivate medical talents. During the Tang Dynasty, the Imperial Medical Department had more than 300 medical students at its peak. It could be said that it was the largest medical institution in ancient times. Oh? Zhou Zichang, Gao Guangwen, why did the two of you give up the great future of the Imperial Medical Department and come to Yanhuang College? Li Zixuan asked curiously. The two of them looked at each other. Finally, Gao Guangwen cupped his hands and said, Marquis, a teacher for a day is a teacher for life. Wherever master goes, we will follow. Zhou Zichang nodded, showing that he agreed with Gao Guangwen. Li Zixuan looked at them with appreciation and then laughed. Haha. Good. Those who value friendship and righteousness will be rewarded with good fortune. The two of you can stay in the academy. After the medical department is established, you will be medical students. Thank you, Marquis. When the two heard this, they hurriedly cupped their fists with joy. Li Zixuan chatted with Professor Qin and Professor Liu for a while more before he left. The results of the monthly exam had been tabulated, and he had to go take a look. As for the Academy's medical center, it was managed by Dr. Qin, Dr. Wang, and Li Gang. Nothing would go wrong. Chang'an City, Yongla Lane, Lord Ho's mansion. Today, the Marquis's mansion was unusually lively. Housekeeper Wang Zhong had bought 4 carts of soybeans from the West Market, which added up to about 1,000 caddies. All the servants in the mansion were assigned to work, moving the soybeans, carrying water, washing the soybeans, and washing the pots and pans. It was as if the new year was coming. It was very lively. Sanbao, bring someone to the kitchen and get a bucket of water. All right, young madam. Afu, bring a few people to help Uncle Wang unload the soybeans. Yes, I'm on my way. Xiao He, get someone to wash these gauze. We need to use it later. In the front yard, Han Yushi was commanding. Now, all the internal affairs of the Li family were under her control. Li Jingma and Mrs. Li rarely interfered. The old couple was now living a leisurely life. If there was anything they were dissatisfied with, it would be that they were short of a grandson. After all, when people got older, they especially liked children. Yes, young madam. Xiao He responded and skipped down to make the arrangements. Xiao Shi, let's go see if the first batch of soybeans is done. Han Yushi said again. Yes, young madam. The master and servant walked towards the backyard. In the main hall, the old lady of the Yi family said with a smile, It's lively. Yuzhu, although there are not as many people in this mansion as in Nanyang, without the scheming, it's more lively. In a big family, there were many open and secret struggles between the branches and the first and second branches. Of course, the Yi family was no exception. The old lady of the Yi family had stayed in the Li mansion for so many days, and she liked the atmosphere here more and more. Yi Guozhong's old face darkened. Was this a roundabout way of scolding him, the former head of the Yi family, for not managing the Yi family well? Mother! It's not the new year yet. It's even more lively during the new year. Yi Yuzhu sat beside the old lady of the Yi family and said with a smile. Hee. Good, good, good. My family's Yuzhu is indeed blessed. Mother is also blessed. This time, the mansion got so many bean sprouts. This old one is blessed. The old lady of the Yi family narrowed her eyes, and her face was full of happy smiles. At the same time, her heart was full of gratification. Before she left for Chang'an, who would have thought that there would be such a perfect ending? Now that she saw that her daughter and grandson were living well, how could she not be gratified? I'm afraid that it won't be long before the method of making bean sprouts is spread out. At that time, won't it be a wedding dress for others? Xiao Xian didn't consider it thoroughly this time. You can't be too hasty in everything. While everyone was laughing and chatting, Yi Guozhong said something that ruined the atmosphere at the wrong time. Master, I think you're used to fighting and scheming with people in Nanyang. How can the servants in this mansion be as bad as you say? I don't think there will be anyone gossiping outside. The old lady of the Yi family said unhappily. Yi Guozhong didn't give up and said, Madam, you can't say that. As the saying goes, people's hearts are hard to predict. If it's 10 people, you can ask them to work together. But if it's hundreds of people, it's too difficult to ask them to work together. People chase after benefits. As long as there are people who want to give benefits to the servants, they will definitely not hesitate to tell the method of making bean sprouts. That's why Xiao Xian didn't consider it thoroughly this time. Yi Yuzhu pursed her lips. It could be seen that at this moment her heart was very tangled. Finally, she gritted her teeth and said, Father, your daughter and Jing Mo have always been kind to the servants. We have never been overly harsh. Although people chase after benefits, your daughter believes that the Li family's servants will not do such a treacherous thing. Yi Guozhong sighed and said, Ai. Then let's wait and see. Father Li, who was in the room, didn't say anything from the beginning to the end. But in his eyes there seemed to be a flash of light. Yun Xiang, why do you think young madam suddenly bought so many beans? In the backyard of the Li family, Lan ran off to play somewhere. The maids were washing the beans diligently, while the servants were helping to carry water from the well. One of the maids, who was slightly plump, asked in a low voice. How would I know? Besides, Lien why are you asking? The other maidservant who was asked answered as she washed the beans. The maid named Lien hurriedly said, No, nothing. I was just casually asking. There was a noise at the door of the courtyard. Maid Yun Xiang quickly said, Young madam is here. Don't talk, quickly wash the beans. Oh. Chapter 997. Hey! Iron Egg, he's practicing Taiji. At the Han village, Old who had just returned from the market, in Chang, and when he saw Iron Egg practicing Taiji under the haystack at the entrance of the village, he was already used to it. After all, every weekend, the villagers would see Iron Egg practicing Taiji here. Yes. Uncle Hu, did you go to the city to buy meat again? Iron Egg stopped and turned around with a smile. In the past, the Hu family had a dumb son and a blind daughter. Everyone sympathized with Hu Hanyun. But now, the dumb son had become a student at Yanhuang College, and the blind daughter had become the only disciple of the miracle doctor Sun Simiao. Hu Hanyun, who was pitted in the past, had become the object of envy. Hey! Sure enough, it's rare for that kid to come home. Your uncle who went to the city to buy 2 caddies of meat for him. Iron Egg, come over for lunch. Call your father over too. Old Hu grinned. Iron Egg hurriedly waved his hand and said, No need, Uncle Hu. My father is probably cooking by now. Old Hu heard this and did not insist. After all, they were fellow villagers, who had not eaten at each other's house before. 1 or 2 meals would not make a difference. Hey, that's fine. Iron Egg, if you have time, come and play with Taiji. Old Hu laughed and was about to leave when he suddenly remembered something. He stopped and said, Oh, that's right. Iron Egg. Your uncle who heard something in the city. You might be interested. Do you want to hear it? Something to do with me? Iron Egg heard this and looked puzzled. He walked over and asked, Uncle Hu, what is it? Old Hu pointed at the haystack next to him. The two of them sat under the haystack. Old Hu placed the things he bought on the ground and said, Iron Egg, when your uncle who was in the city, I heard that the Lin family is looking for a teacher who is proficient in new mathematics for their young master, Lin Hao. His monthly salary is at least 5 strings of coins, and there is no cap. Do you want to try the Iron Egg? Iron Egg's heart skipped a beat. The monthly salary was at least 5 strings of coins, which was a very, very good job. No one would believe him if he said that he was not tempted. After all, not everyone had a mine at home. Although Li Zixuan was his rich brother-in-law, Li Zixuan's wealth did not mean that he was rich. Most of the time, it was more comfortable to spend one's own money. However, he was still a little hesitant. Uncle Hu, I'm just a student at Yanhuang College. How can I be someone else's teacher? Aren't you making fun of me? Hu Hanyun repeatedly waved his hands and said, Hey, hey, hey! It's not like that. The steward of the Lin family even said that as long as you're familiar with the first volume of the new mathematics book written by young master, they'll welcome you, even if you're a student. As long as you can guide their young master from time to time, it'll be fine. Iron Egg said in disbelief, There's such a good thing? Uncle Hu, are you trying to trick me? Hey, you child, why would I trick you? But this position is quite suitable for sure. Uncle Hu, why don't you let Sure give it a try? Old Hu smacked his lips and said, Hey! Of course your Uncle Hu wants that kid to give it a try, but at least your Uncle Hu knows his own limit. I know that Sure's mathematics results can't compare to yours. If he were to teach someone else, it would be a waste of their time. Besides, Tai Dan, can you guess why old Master Lin wants to hire a fortune-teller to tutor his son? Iron Egg thought for a moment, and suddenly his eyes lit up. He said, Could it be that the young master of the Lin family wants to enter Yanhuang College? Under normal circumstances, no parents would be willing to spend so much effort to find someone to teach their son the new type of mathematics. After all, in this era, it was mainstream to enter the government through the study of classic. Now, the old master of the Lin family not only wanted to find a mathematics teacher for his son, but also a teacher who was proficient in the new type of mathematics. The only possible explanation was that the old master of the Lin family wanted his son to enter the Yanhuang Academy. Hu Hanyun gave him a thumbs up and chuckled. Smart. Iron Egg, there are still 8 to 9 months before Yanhuang College's entrance exam next year. At this time, many people in Chang and have already started preparing. The Lin family is just one of them. During Yanhuang College's entrance exam this year, your mathematics results were much better than mine, so it's better for you to go. Iron Egg lowered his head and thought for a moment. After a while, he raised his head and said, Thank you, Uncle Hu. I'll discuss it with my father when I go back later. Next, Hanli. South of Chang and City, Happy Lane, Lin family's front yard. A man in gray who looked like a butler stood at the door and shouted at the group outside. Yes, that's right, Bruiser really did come. What? Hanli? F***CK. Hanli, you actually came to my house? No. Shouldn't you be undergoing the heavenly tribulation now? After Iron Egg walked in, he saw 3 tables and 3 chairs in the yard. There were 3 people sitting on each of them. An old couple and a young man. As soon as he walked in, the young man jumped up and made a fuss. Iron Egg didn't know whether to laugh or cry when he heard that. It seemed that he had met a true fan of A Legend of a Mortal's Journey to Immortality, but this guy was a little too obsessed. Xiao Hao, don't be rude. Who else could this young man be other than Lin Hao? Lin Wenyuan saw that his son had lost his composure and hurriedly reprimanded him. Dad. Lin Hao shrunk his neck and replied gloomily. Lin Wenyuan looked at Iron Egg and sized him up. He said, Young man, do you know the requirements of the Lin family? Iron Egg nodded and replied, Of course I do. I'm just proficient in new arithmetic. Lin Wenyuan nodded and said, Young man, you're already proficient in new arithmetic at such a young age. Are you a student of Yanhuang College? Iron Egg was a little nervous. He said, Does Master Lin not want to recruit students? Lin Wenyuan waved his hand and said, No, 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 no. No matter who it is, as long as they can answer my 3 questions, I'll hire them. Young man, do you have the confidence to give it a try? Of course. Master Lin, please give me the questions. Iron Egg cupped his hands and agreed. Lin Wenyuan clapped his hands and praised. Ha ha. Good. Young man, you're very straightforward. Then I'll give you the questions. Please listen carefully. The first question is, today there is an object but its number is unknown. 3 by 3 is 2, 5 by 5 is 3, 7 by 7 is 2. How many is the object? This was an ancient arithmetic question from Sun Tzu Arithmetical Classic. The translation of this question was, there is a batch of objects, but I don't know how many there are. If you count 3 by 3, there will be 2 left. If you count 5 by 5, there will be 3 left. If you count 7 by 7, there will be 2 left. Question: how many objects are there in this batch? Although it was an ancient arithmetic question, it was still quite difficult for most people. However, for those who had learned new arithmetic, it was a piece of cake. Master Lin, I have the answer. In less than 10 minutes, Iron Egg had calculated the correct answer in his heart. Chapter 998. Oh? No wonder you're from Yanhuang College. You got the answer so quickly. Please tell me. Lin Wenyuan's eyes lit up, and the smile on his face became even more enthusiastic. Iron Egg smiled confidently and replied, I calculated the answer. It's 23. Is that correct? Lin Hao saw that Iron Egg, who was about the same age as him, could solve such a complicated math problem so quickly without using a pen and paper. He couldn't help but pat the table and say excitedly, Damn! Awesome! Hanli! You got the answer so quickly! No wonder you're the legendary old demon Han. You're so strong and you're so smart. In the legends of a mortal's journey to immortality, Hanli was known as Old Devil Han because he was vicious and merciless towards his enemies, held grudges, and had many tricks up his sleeve. He was someone who refused to suffer losses. Iron Egg's face was calm, but Lin Wenyuan's face darkened. He reprimanded, Sit down. Yes, Dad. Lin Hao quickly put away the arrogance and excitement on his face, and sat down obediently. Mother Lin glanced at her son and smiled. She thought to herself that there was hope now. Her son might be able to pick up his interest in studying because of Tai Dan. Seeing that his unfilial son was obedient, Lin Wenyuan looked at Iron Egg and praised, You're absolutely correct. I was going to ask someone to prepare a pen and paper for you to calculate, but I didn't expect you to get the answer just by calculating in your head. You're a genius, young master. Iron Egg smiled and said, Master Lin, please ask the next question. Lin Wenyuan looked at Iron Egg with appreciation and continued, Good. Young master, please listen to the second question. Han Xin points out the number of soldiers in a group. There are 2 soldiers in a group of 3, 3 soldiers in a group of 5, and 4 soldiers in a group of 7. Question: how many soldiers are there in this group? This was a famous ancient math problem, borrowed from the story of Han Xion's troop. Since ancient times, it had stumped countless people. Iron Egg repeated the question twice in his mind, and his face turned solemn. The problem was to find a positive number, so that 3 divided the remainder 2, 5 divided the remainder 3, and 7 divided the remainder 4. Moreover, it was hoped that the obtained number would be as small as possible. However, there was a relatively stupid method which was to experiment and analyze. By constantly inserting data and increasing conditions step by step, the answer could be deduced. For example, let's start with the condition that the remainder is 2 by 3. The number that satisfies this condition is 3n plus 2, where n is a non-negative integer. In order to make 3n plus 2 satisfy the condition of dividing by 5 and leaving 3, we can substitute n with 1, 2, 3, respectively. When n equals 2, 3n plus 2 is equal to 8, and 8 divided by 5 leaves 3. It can be seen that 8 satisfies the 2 conditions of dividing by 3 and dividing by 5. The last condition was to divide 4 by 7. 8 does not meet this condition. We have to get a number based on 8 that satisfies all 3 conditions. So on and so forth, we will eventually find the correct answer. However, the disadvantage of this method was obvious, which was that it wasted a lot of time. Come, prepare the ink paper and inkstone for young Master Han. Lin Wenyuan saw that Iron Egg was frowning and did not speak, so he ordered the servants to get the ink and paper. Iron Egg said at this moment, "No need, Master Lin, I have already found the correct answer." Lin Wenyuan finally could not sit still. He stood up and exclaimed, "What? You already have the answer?" Iron Egg stood with his hands behind his back. After practicing Tai Chi for a few months, he stood tall and straight, and his temperament was outstanding. He was completely different from the young boy who only knew how to play mud with his peers. At this moment, he was like a peerless master who had personally come to the battlefield. His clothes fluttered in the wind, and he was detached from the world. Yes, according to my calculations, there are at least 53 soldiers in this group. Master Lin, is my answer correct? Iron Egg slowly said the answer to everyone's expectations. Lin Wenyuan's breath was a little short. He said in disbelief, "How is that possible? How can you calculate the answer in such a short time? Little Langjun, tell this old man the truth. Have you ever solved this problem in private before?" Iron Egg shook his head and said, "No. How is that possible? Young master, can you tell me how you solved the problem?" Iron Egg did not refuse Lin Wenyuan's request. He organized his words and said, "I have thought of a simple solution, but I don't know if it is correct or not. First, 3 times 5 times 7 equals 105. 70 is a multiple of 5 and 7, and dividing 3 by 1 is the remainder. 21 is a multiple of 3 and 7, and dividing 5 by 1 is the remainder. 15 is a multiple of 3 and 5, and dividing 7 by 1 is the remainder. 70 times 2 is a multiple of 5 and 7, and dividing 3 by 2 is the remainder. 21 times 3 is a multiple of 3 and 7, and dividing 5 by 3 is the remainder. 15 times 4 is a multiple of 3 and 5, and dividing 7 by 4 is the remainder. 70 times 2 plus 21 times 3 plus 15 times 4 is equal to 263 is equal to 2 times 105 plus 53. 53 divided by 3 is the remainder. 53 divided by 5 is the remainder. 53 divided by 7 is the remainder. 53 divided by 7 is the remainder. Therefore, there are at least 53 soldiers. Damn, damn, damn. Old Demon Han is awesome. Although Iron Egg did not explain in detail, and although Lin Hao did not know anything about mathematics, it did not stop him from cheering for Iron Egg. Because Iron Egg was so cool when he spoke so confidently just now. Lin Wenyuan did not reprimand his son this time, because he was not calm either. Clap, clap, clap. Lin Wenyuan could not help but applaud. He had inherited his father's business from a young age and was very sensitive to numbers. Although he was not proficient in mathematics, he knew a thing or two. Although he did not fully understand Iron Egg's explanation, it did not stop him from applauding Iron Egg's innovative way of solving the problem. Black cat, white cat, a cat that catches mice is a good cat. Facts had proven that Iron Egg's method was faster and more accurate. That was enough. Brother Han, you are a genius. This old man admires you. Previously, there were many people who had come to participate in the selection who had failed at this second question. Who would have thought that little brother Han would come and find another way to solve this question in less than a quarter of an hour? Since ancient times, heroes have been born from the young. Today, this old man has broadened my horizons. There is no need for the third question. Brother Han, you have passed. I wonder if you are willing to be my son's tutor? This old man is willing to pay you 20 strings of coins a month. You don't have to come every day. According to the school calendar of Yanwang College, you just have to come every holiday. To be honest, my son, Lin Hao, is planning to take part in the entrance exam of Yanwang College next year. As everyone knows, Yanwang College emphasizes mathematics. If my son can be admitted into Yanhuang College under Brother Han's guidance, this old man is willing to pay you 200 strings of coins in one go as thanks. I wonder if Brother Han is willing? Unknowingly, Lin Wenyuan's attitude towards Iron Egg had become much more respectful. He cupped his hands and said sincerely to Iron Egg. Chapter 999. No, old Master Lin, your offer is too generous. I can't accept it. Lin Wenyuan, Mother Lin, and Lin Hao all stared at Iron Egg, but Iron Egg shook his head after some thought. Lin Wenyuan and Mother Lin looked at each other, and then Lin Wenyuan said with a smile, Little Brother Han, you don't have to be modest. With your knowledge, this salary isn't high at all. Even if I don't offer you this price, I'm afraid that other people with foresight will offer you the same price. So, I hope you won't reject it. Yes. This money is peanuts to my father. Old Demon Han, don't save money for my father. Spend it as much as you can. Lin Hao did not mind that things were getting out of hand and interrupted. The main thing was that Iron Egg was many times better than those old scholars in their 70s and 80s who only knew how to read. Moreover, although Iron Egg was young, his ability was not small at all. It was even easier to talk to people of the same age. Maybe he could be as awesome as Iron Egg when the time came. You child, what nonsense are you talking about? Mother Lin scolded Lin Hao angrily. Then, she smiled gently and said, Little Brother Han, Little Hao has been spoiled since he was young. He's a little naughty and mischievous. I hope you don't mind, but he's not a bad person. Don't worry. Iron Egg hurriedly said, Auntie Lin, you're too serious. Young Master Lin is honest and straightforward. I don't mind at all. Lin Hao was amused. He smiled and said, Hee. Honest and straightforward? Old Demon Han, are you implying that I'm stupid? Iron Egg's mouth twitched a few times. He shook his head and said, Young Master Lin, I didn't mean that. Lin Hao acted as if he didn't hear Bruiser's words and continued to speak. Hey, this young master is just too lazy to delve into the bullshit ways of the world. The human heart is complicated. How can it be as carefree as reading novels at home? After saying that, Lin Hao, who had always been cynical, actually showed a trace of loneliness on his face. Iron Egg's heart skipped a beat. He cupped his hands towards Lin Wenyuan and said, Master Lin, I am willing to accept this position. As for the salary, it is up to you to decide. Lin Wenyuan laughed loudly and said repeatedly, Good. Steward, go and inform the candidates outside the prefectural magistrate that they don't need to line up. I've already found a suitable candidate. Give each of them a gift as my apology. Yes, Master. The middle-aged man who brought the Iron Egg in bowed and replied. Today should be Yanhuang College's weekend. Han Xiao, why don't you start teaching my son today? Lin Wenyuan chuckled. Han Xiao? Today, the way Lin Wenyuan addressed Iron Egg changed again and again, becoming more and more respectful. However, Iron Egg still frowned and said awkwardly, This, Master Lin, I didn't prepare any teaching materials when I came. Why don't I teach young Master Lin another day? Lin Wenyuan waved his hand and said, No need. The Lin Mansion already has the new mathematics teaching materials compiled by the Marquis of Yong'an. Han Xiao can start teaching now. Since the conversation had already reached this point, Iron Egg couldn't refuse anymore. He could only secretly praise Lin Wenyuan for being so well prepared. Then, he nodded and agreed, That's good. I will start teaching young Master Lin today. Good. Little Hao, from now on, learn well from Han Xiao. If you don't work hard, I will skin you alive. Lin Wenyuan fiercely glared at Lin Hao and sternly warned him. He couldn't be blamed for worrying. This son of his was really too infuriating. He had already angered 3 or 4 teachers. I will definitely work hard, Lin Hao replied gloomily. Then, he brought Iron Egg back to his own courtyard and began studying. Old Demon Han. Mr. Han, can I ask you a question? In the backyard of the Lin mansion, Lin Hao suddenly asked Iron Egg after reading a few pages in Lin Hao's study. Young Master Lin, we are about the same age. You don't have to call me Mr. Just call me by my name. Iron Egg hurriedly waved his hand and said with a look of surprise. At this moment, he had somewhat revealed his true colors. The expert demeanor he had in front of Lin Wenyuan and Mother Lin had completely disappeared. In fact, the calmness he had in front of Lin Wenyuan was all an act. To be exact, he was imitating his master, Li Zixuan. Otherwise, how could he have intimidated the knowledgeable Lin Wenyuan in the front courtyard? The reason why he had instantly agreed to Lin Wenyuan and Mrs. Lin's request was mainly because he had seen Lin Hao's honest and straightforward side. He understood that there was no need to hide anything when dealing with such a person, and he would definitely not be at a disadvantage. But I might as well call you Old Demon Han instead of Hanli. How about I call you that from now on? The honest and cute fat otaku would not struggle with the issue of how to address him for too long. Lin Hao scratched his head and directly wanted to change Iron Egg's name. Iron Egg's little face darkened. He said unhappily, "No. You can call me Iron Egg. That's what all my friends call me." Iron Egg? Could it be that you're... Oh. Impressive. Impressive. Hearing this, Lin Hao's eyes widened. After he glanced at Iron Egg's crotch, his expression suddenly became incomparably wretched, and his face revealed a despicable smile. Scram! Iron Egg wished he could kick this damn fatty back into his mother's womb. He had met many despicable people, but he had never met such a despicable person. Haha. Just kidding. Iron Egg, don't mind it. Actually, I still think that the name Old Demon Han is more domineering. Do you want to consider it? Lin Hao laughed heartily. He truly felt that Iron Egg was a very interesting person. He was not like those rigid, smelly, and stubborn teachers that his father had hired for him. Iron Egg shook his head without thinking and said, "No need to consider it." Lin Hao, didn't you say that you have a question for me? If you want to ask, just ask. Cut the crap. Since his nature had been exposed, Iron Egg did not intend to call Lin Hao Young Master Lin anymore. Instead, he unceremoniously called him by his name. Hee. Lin Hao laughed embarrassedly. Then, he moved closer and asked carefully, "Iron Egg, do you know Leather Knight?" "Leather Knight? Who is that?" Iron Egg heard this and subconsciously felt that the name was very familiar. However, he suddenly could not remember who that person was, so he asked. "The person who wrote A Legend of a Mortal's Journey to Immortality? Haven't you heard of Iron Egg?" Lin Hao said anxiously and excitedly. "I've heard of him, but I don't know him." Iron Egg was frantically covering for Li Zixuan. Of course, the truth was not like this. In fact, he had helped Li Zixuan write a novel by hand. However, Li Zixuan's identity as a novel writer could not be known by outsiders. Otherwise, he would be accused of not doing his job properly. TSK. Iron Egg, if you had nothing to do with Leather Knight, would Leather Knight let you be the main character in the novel? Who are you trying to fool? You two must know each other. Chapter 1000. Night, Lin Residence West Courtyard Study. Old Master, I found it. There is indeed a Han Li in Yanhuang College. The butler excitedly pushed open the door and said to Lin Wenyuan, "Oh? Tell me quickly, what is his family background and character like?" Lin Wenyuan turned around and hurriedly asked. Iron Egg's knowledge and ability naturally went without saying. However, Lin Wenyuan was still a little worried about Iron Egg's character, so he asked the butler to find someone to investigate. Although the old man often scolded his son, he had always shielded Lin Hao from the wind and rain behind his back. Perhaps this was fatherly love. Old master, it's hard to say about the others, but this Han Li, you can rest assured. There is absolutely no problem with him. The butler chuckled. Lin Wenyuan frowned. Nothing is absolute. Butler, why do you have so much confidence in this Han Li? The subtext is that you are not related to that brat, so why are you speaking up for him? Could it be that you have received some benefits? The butler did not dare to keep him in suspense and hurriedly said the truth. Old master, this Han Li has another name, Iron Egg. Moreover, other than being a student of Yanhuang College, he has two other identities. One is the disciple of the Marquis of Yong'an, and the other is the Marquis of Yong'an's brother-in-law. Brother-in-law, referring to the wife's younger brother. What? Lin Wenyuan's expression suddenly changed, and then became ecstatic. He said in disbelief, there is actually such a coincidence? Because of the Yanhuang Chamber of Commerce, Lin Wenyuan had specially gathered a lot of information about Li Zixuan. He knew that Li Zixuan had a disciple called Iron Egg, but he did not know that Iron Egg's real name was Han Li. Actually, he could not be blamed, because usually people called Iron Egg, and very few people knew Iron Egg's real name. It was normal that he did not know that Han Li was Iron Egg. Kiki. When this old servant heard this news, I was also shocked. Han Li's mathematics results, whether it was in the Imperial College or Yanhuang College, have always been among the best. With his help, what is there to worry about young master's mathematics results? Young master is really lucky this time. The butler's eyebrows were knitted together as he spoke to Lin Wenyuan. Lin Wenyuan's face was flushed red, and it was obvious that he was very happy. After a pause, he said in a low voice, pass down the order. In the future, when Han Xiao comes to our residence, no one is to be negligent. Give him whatever he wants. His orders are my orders. If there is anyone who is disrespectful to Han Xiao, you don't have to explain to me. Just chase them out of the Lin family. Do you understand? The butler's heart trembled, and he cupped his hands respectfully. This old servant understands. Lin Wenyuan nodded. He put his hands behind his back and paced in front of the desk. He said, pass down the order to the accounts office. Give Han Xiao a monthly salary of 50 strings of coins. The butler was shocked. He hesitated for a moment and said, Old master, this old servant doesn't think Han Xiao is a greedy person. We previously agreed on a monthly salary of 20 strings of coins. If we suddenly increase it to 50 strings of coins, I don't think he will accept it. Lin Wenyuan frowned. He also felt that the old butler's words made sense. After thinking for a moment, he said, let the accounts office think of a way. If Han Xiao accepts it, this old man will reward him handsomely. If he doesn't, then forget it. But there is one thing. No matter what, you must not provoke him into disgust. The butler was speechless. Who would rack their brains to give money to someone like this? The world was really big, and there were all kinds of strange things. Yes, old master. The next day, Monday, the cold wind blew. Although there was no rain or snow, the wind in this season was like a knife on one's face. F***ck. The weather is getting colder and colder. I really want to stay in bed forever. Outside the entrance of Yanhuang College, Li Tai walked in while rubbing his hands and cursing. At this time, he could not help but touch his stomach. That's right, he was starting to miss the fat on his body. After all, fat could keep out the cold. The old him was not so afraid of the cold. Chinke, you can come to school with a blanket. Ching Chumo said mischievously. F***ck off. Li Tai kicked Ching Chumo, but the latter easily dodged. Then, he said unhappily, Cho Nyo, have you written your self-reflection? Speaking of which, if it were not for Ching Chumo's instigation on Friday, they might not have gone to a small shop to drink. Naturally, they would not have been punished by Li Zixuan to write a self-reflection. Of course I wrote it. Then hurry up and let me take a look at yours. Why? If you want to take a look, go look at yours, Ching Chumo said with an unnatural expression. F***ck. Why? You tell me why. If it were not for your instigation on Friday, would I have gone drinking with you? Now I'm being punished to write a self-reflection. It's all your fault. When little Fatty heard this, he immediately exploded. Ching Chumo pulled Sun Zifen over and said, "Heh? I wasn't the only one who said I wanted to drink. Didn't Sun Zifen say it too? How is it only my fault?" Sun Zifen, who was implicated even when he was not doing anything, almost vomited blood. He said gloomily, F***ck. Chonyo, you're so mean. The two of you were having a good conversation. Why did you suddenly drag me into it? Alright. I'm too lazy to argue with the two of you. Let's go quickly. We'll be late. Li Tai waved his hand in annoyance, and then led the way into the academy. F***ck. Quick, look. What's that? After entering the academy, Sun Zifen suddenly exclaimed and pointed in front of him. F***ck. Could it be? Ching Chumo's face darkened as if he thought of something terrifying. The monthly test result. The monthly test results should be out. I didn't expect the teachers of the academy to be so efficient. In just 2 days, not only did they finish marking the papers, they even tabulated the results. Let's go and take a look. Li Tai looked at the huge red list in front of him, and there were many students around it. He could already guess what was written on the list. However, he had thought that it would take at least 3 or 4 days for the test results to come out on Friday. He did not expect that the results would come out after only 2 days. The efficiency of the teachers in the academy was really beyond his expectation. If you want to go, you go. You're going to see if you got first place. What can I do if I go? Ching Chumo waved his hand listlessly and complained. Hey, Chonyo, you can go and see if you got last place? Ah. Li Tai smiled and said sarcastically to Ching Chumo. F***ck. Chinke, are you asking for a beating? Ching Chumo was furious and threw a punch at Li Tai's chest. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.